Chapter 1329. The Decision of the Head of the Hong Family, 5. Miss. The two of them could not care less about the presence of the Hong family's butler. They immediately pounced towards Lung Ruoxue. Seeing this, the demon quickly pulled Shui into his arms, causing Yu Qing and Xiang to miss. Miss. The two of them looked at Lung Ruoxue with hidden bitterness, as if they were complaining. Young Miss Lung, these two people said that they are your maidservants. I wonder if you know them? The butler asked calmly. The truth was already in front of him, but he still had to ask. I do, they are my people. Lung Ruoxue nodded. Oh, then I won't care about their matters anymore. Miss Lung, you can make your own arrangements. The butler said. After he finished speaking, he bowed and turned to leave. Miss, what's going on? Weren't you captured by the Hong family? Yu Qing asked in puzzlement. The Hong clan's attitude towards their young miss was really too strange. This courtyard didn't seem like it was meant to be used as a prison. That's right, we were captured by the Hong family. Lung Ruoxue was extremely calm. Does the Hong family treat their prisoners so well? Xiang Er's face was also filled with curiosity. Shui is not an ordinary prisoner. Shui Ying laughed evilly. Could it be that the old fart from the Hong family has designs on our young miss? Yu Jing was a little angry when she heard this. Calm down. Shui isn't that easy to get your hands on. But why are you here? Shui Ying asked curiously. We were originally at the Yen residence, but we heard that the young lady and the Yen clan's old master were captured by the Hong clan. The Yen clan had no intention of saving the old master, so we came over. Ziyu and Bai Xian are still at the Yen residence. Yu Qing explained. Oh, you're saying that the Yen clan doesn't intend to save their lord? Lung Ruoxue asked in shock. It seemed like the Yen clan was quite decisive in their actions. That old master of the Yen clan was indeed not worth saving. Yes, the second master of the Yen family said it himself. Yu Jing said. You are reading on MYBOXN0VL. Shui. Since the Yen family has decided to give up on their master, do you think we should tell this news to Master Hong? They've treated us with good food and drinks, so we should return the favor, right? Shui Ying said with a smile as he thought of an evil idea. If the Hong family finds out about this, the father and daughter will definitely not have a good life. Lung Ruoxue smiled as she reminded him. This has nothing to do with us. Isn't it good for them to fight each other? At that time, we'll be like the mantis stalking the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind, and wipe out both of them. Snow Shadow suggested. No, the Yen clan is a dark clan. If we offend them, we will be in deep trouble. Jiang Chen said. Xiang stopped him. What are you afraid of? Isn't it just a dark clan? There are so many of us here, do we need to be afraid of them? Yu Qing said disapprovingly. Dark clan? What is this? Lung Ruoxue was bewildered. She only knew that there were 8 god domains in the god world, and that they were the top forces in the god world. As for the Dark Clan, this was the first time she had heard of it. The Dark Clan in the divine world refers to the clans that keep a low profile, but their methods are quite ruthless. Their identity and actions are extremely mysterious, and they are not exposed to the public like the 8 great divine domains or the beast clans. In other words, they are people who walk in the dark world, but they also have businesses on the surface, hidden among many forces. If they don't say it themselves, no one will know that they are a member of the Dark Clan. Xiang explained. Oh. Lung Ruoxue nodded her head. It seemed like the Yen clan was part of the underworld. However, no matter how terrifying the Yen family's underhanded methods were, it was impossible for those who provoked her not to pay the price. Young lady, the people of the divine world won't easily offend the people of the Dark Clan, because once they do, it means that they will have to suffer their endless revenge. Xiang couldn't help but add. If the Yen clan is a dark clan, and the Dark Clan is as powerful as you said, why doesn't the Yen clan have much of a reaction when the Hong clan is bullying them? Lung Ruoxue could not understand. I'm not sure. Xiang said gloomily. Isn't it obvious? The Hong clan and the Yen clan are evenly matched, perhaps even stronger. Otherwise, why would the Yen clan swallow their anger? The demon said with an understanding look. It's also possible that the Hong family is one of the dark families. Lung Ruoxue chuckled as she added. Yes. The demon nodded in agreement. Miss, what should we do now? Yu Qing couldn't help but ask. Find a suitable opportunity to leak the news that the Yen clan is planning to give up on the Yen clan's eldest master. At that time, we can just sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight. Lung Ruoxue said after some thought. Leave this matter to me. Snow Shadow said with a smile. Just as he finished speaking, he disappeared with a whoosh. This guy is really fast. Xiang wiped the cold sweat off her forehead. It's been holding back for a while, so it naturally has to make good use of such an opportunity. Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. The next day, rumors spread in Hong City, and naturally, some people in the Hong family heard it. In Master Hong's study, a man sat behind the desk with a heavy expression as he listened to the butler's report. After a long while, he asked, Is this news true? Family head, the people we sent to Yen City have yet to return. This news came from Yen City, so in my opinion, it's most likely true. The butler thought for a moment before he spoke in a very cautious manner. Butler, what do you think I should do? The man asked after thinking for a while. Master, I'm just a butler. You have to make the decision for such a big matter. The butler said with fear and trepidation. I'm not asking you to make any decisions for me, I'm just asking you to share your thoughts. The man helplessly reminded. Clan head, this subordinate feels that since the Yen clan has decided to give up on the Yen clan's eldest master, then we don't have to be polite to the father and daughter. Or we might as well directly attack the Yen clan. Last time, Clan head Yen was injured by the Great Elder, and I'm sure your injuries have not yet recovered. The butler thought for a moment and said, I also want to kill my way into the Yen family, but the Great Elder might not agree. If I wasn't in danger last time, that old thing wouldn't have made a move. Although he was the head of the Hong family, the Great Elder's status in the family was higher than his. This had always made him feel uncomfortable. However, the Great Elder's strength was above his, so even if he wanted to use his strength to force the Great Elder to lower his head, it was impossible. I think we can keep it a secret from the Great Elder. The patriarch of the Yen family is currently injured and definitely isn't his match. If we miss this rare opportunity, it will be difficult to deal with the Yen clan once they recover. The butler reminded. That's good. Go and find the other elders now. Remember, don't alert the Great Elder. The man thought for a moment and cautiously reminded. This subordinate understands. The butler nodded carefully and left the study. After the elders of the Hong family were secretly invited, they had no choice but to agree to the master's plan under the coercion and temptation of the master of the Hong family. After that, the master of the Hong family sent someone to invite Lung Ruoxue and the others. On the way to Yen City, Master Hong was afraid that Lung Ruoxue would not be used to riding beasts, so he specially found a luxurious beast carriage for her to sit in. Yu Qing and Xiang were her maidservants, so they naturally accompanied her. As for the demon and Shueying, they did not receive such treatment. Miss, what is this master of the Hong family doing? Xiang Er's face was filled with confusion. If their Hong family wanted to go to the Yen family to find trouble, why did they have to drag them along? They didn't say they were going. He's not playing tricks, he's looking for death. Yu Qing said with some schadenfreude. She could feel the cold air behind the car that made people shiver. She didn't believe that the Hong family head wouldn't notice it at all. Yes, that's right. You're looking for death. Xiang agreed with Yu Qing's words. AI. Lung Ruoxue looked at the two excited beauties in front of her and felt helpless. She really did not know what the two of them were excited about. Chapter 1330, Being Framed, 1. Actually, according to Lung Ruoxue's original intention, she didn't want to sit in the beast-drawn carriage. However, the demon was afraid that she would tire herself out, so he forcefully pushed her in. He then followed behind the carriage and sulked, causing her to feel as though she was sitting on pins and needles. So, she wasn't that delicate. The beast-drawn carriage was moving very slowly and steadily. The demon and Shui Ying followed behind the carriage and walked slowly as well. However, Shui Ying did not dare to get within 3 feet of the demon because the demon's entire body was emitting a cold air that made one's heart palpitate, causing one to shiver. "Why are you so far away from me?" His devilish black eyes glanced at the snow figure not far away and said with slight displeasure, "I'm cold." Shui Ying shook the long fur on his body and said with a face full of fear, "Cold? Come over. It'll help you warm up." The demon said ambiguously, "No need." When Snow Shadow heard the demon's words, he was so scared that he hid even further away. "Are you coming over?" The demon saw that Shui Ying wasn't cooperating and asked indifferently with his half-squinted eyes. "Ooh, don't scare me. I'll go over." Shui Ying said shamelessly. He kept consoling himself in his heart. "You can't blame me for this. This man was giving it too much pressure. It's all that damned head of the Hong family's fault. Why did you have to be so attentive for no reason?" He had also implicated it. After saying that, Shui Ying slowly walked to the side of the demon with small steps. The demon hugged Snow Shadow's huge body and deliberately said, "You're not cold anymore, are you?" "I'm not cold. But if you want to vent your anger, go and kill that master of the Hong family. Every injustice has its perpetrator, and every debt has its debtor. You must not vent your anger on me." Shui Ying said carefully, "Don't worry. I won't vent my anger on you." The demon gritted his teeth and subconsciously clenched the soft long hair on Snow Shadow's body. "Then what are you doing now?" "The fur." Shui Ying was wailing in his heart, and he kept complaining. However, he didn't dare to say these words out loud. He could only grit his teeth and bear with it, because a jealous man was unreasonable. And at this moment, that woman who didn't know what was good for her came over to court death. Looking at the Hong sisters who were slowly approaching, Shui Ying was gloating in his heart, because he was very clear that the people this evil-looking man didn't want to see the most were probably the Hong family members, but these 2 sisters didn't seem to notice at all. It could also be said that she was completely infatuated with the handsome man, so she automatically ignored this kind of disgust. You are reading on Imibio XN0vil.com. After the 2 shy sisters arrived in front of the evildoer, their charming faces were dyed with a layer of red. When Shui Ying saw this, he felt his hair stand on end and goosebumps appear on his body. Oh my God! Did these 2 women have to be so exaggerated? Was there a need to blush? It's not like she's never seen a man before. It should be known that the thing it couldn't stand the most was women who blushed at the sight of men, as if they were innocent and shy. In fact, many of these women were deliberately acting. Unfortunately, some men liked this. However, it was very sure that the man in front of it definitely did not like it, so their efforts were in vain. Furthermore, wasn't it said that eldest Miss Hong liked 5th young Master Yen? Since that's the case, why are you so embarrassed when you see other men? She was really a woman who looked pure on the outside but was promiscuous on the inside. Shui Ying thought to himself in disdain. "Young master, we're preparing to rest and make lunch. What do you want to eat for lunch?" Hong Lian asked softly. Her voice was so gentle that it seemed like water could drip out. "Young master?" Hearing these 2 words, Shui Ying laughed wildly in his heart. The current scene seemed to be a maidservant asking her young master what he was going to eat for lunch. In fact, the Hong sisters did not know the name of the devilish man beside it, so they could only address him as young master. However, such a form of address, coupled with the Hong sisters' shyness and attentiveness, made them look like maidservants. My young master can eat anything he wants. However, he really wants to know how long it will take to reach the destination at this speed. Seeing that the evildoer had no intention of paying attention to the Hong sisters, Shui Ying took the initiative to reply on his behalf. "I think we'll be there in 2 days. Hong Lian chuckled and replied, "Oh, but I heard that Yen City is less than 2 days away from Hong City. Why are you guys so slow?" Shui Ying glanced at the head of the Hong family, who had already gotten down from his mount, and asked, pretending to be puzzled. From its point of view, the Hong family wasn't planning on challenging the dojo at all. It was more like they were going on an outing. Otherwise, Why would he bring his family along to cause trouble? It would be fine if the family was strong, but one of them was weak and sickly, as if he would fall with a gust of wind, and the other was also a big-breasted, brainless idiot who only had men in his eyes. Bringing these two women along with him would only be a waste of time. We have more people, so of course we have to walk slower. Moreover, we have to take care of you people who don't have mounts, so we naturally can't walk faster. Hong Xian said matter-of-factly. In fact, she did not hear the sarcasm in Shui Ying's words. Otherwise, she would have been depressed. Oh. Then we have to thank you for your care. Shui Ying said with a faint smile. There's no need for a verbal thanks. If you really want to thank me, then be my contracted beast. Hong Xian shamelessly requested. I have a master. Shui Ying wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and said in a speechless manner. This Miss Hong was really not an ordinary brainless person, was she? This kind of request was actually said so naturally. Could it be that she really thought that she was in high demand, that just because she was a beastie, she wanted to be her contracted beast? You can take the initiative to cancel the master-slave contract. This way we can change owners. Tong thought. How could she not know that this fox had a master? If she didn't know that it had an owner, she would have ordered people to capture it and force it to sign a contract. Unfortunately, there was no way to use force on a beastie that had an owner. Beastie can take the initiative to break the master-slave contract? How come I didn't know about it? Snow Shadow's face was full of surprise and puzzlement. He had lived for so long, but he had never heard of a master-slave contract being terminated by a beastie. If that was the case, would it still be called a forced contract? You can ask your master to remove it. Hong Xian warned. If master listens to everything I say, would you still be called master? Snow Shadow asked with a smile. Chapter 1331. Being Framed, 2. If she doesn't listen, I'll kill her. At that time, your contract can still be terminated. Hong Xian said in an overbearing manner. Miss Lu, if you kill my master, I will die as well. Shui Ying rolled his eyes and said helplessly, sigh. This woman really didn't have much common sense. All the beasts knew that after signing a master-slave contract, if the master died, the beasts would also die. I see. Then I'll force your master to break your master-servant contract. Hong Xian thought and said, if you have the ability, then go ahead. Shui Ying said in an unpleasant tone. You will definitely be mine. Hong Xian said confidently. I'm looking forward to it. Shui Ying was too lazy to respond to Hong Xian. After saying these few words, he didn't say anything else. Shui Ying did not say anything, and the demon did not even bother to look at the two sisters. The two sisters stood there like fools for a while, then left embarrassedly. If they did not leave, everyone's attention would be attracted to them. However, as they left, the two of them could not help but secretly complain about the demon's lack of romantic feelings. What do you think they'll do next? Snow Shadow said, as if he was waiting to watch a good show. Although on the way to Yen City, there was a time bomb that could explode at any time, it was quite interesting to watch the two sisters fight for a husband. You'll have to ask them. The demon said coldly, the cold chi on his body growing thicker. But, it seems that there are more than two women who are interested in you. As Shui Ying spoke, he also stole a glance at Yen Ling, who was in the prison carriage not far away from them. The father and daughter of the Yen family were currently locked in the prison carriage that was filled with slaves, and the possibility of escape was zero. Their subordinates were also tied up and slowly following behind the carriage. So what? The demon lifted his eyelids and asked indifferently. Will they start a fight? Shui Ying's face was filled with curiosity. I don't know, the demon said with a lack of interest. After he finished speaking, he left Shui Ying behind and walked towards Lung Ruoxu's beast-drawn carriage. He lifted the curtain and entered. This man finally couldn't take it anymore. He clearly didn't want Shui to sit in that car, but he still pretended to be generous. Wasn't it tiring? Shui Ying looked at the back of the demon and muttered to himself. You are reading on MIBOXN0VL. However, it didn't follow them. Instead, it quietly walked to Hong Xin's side and said something to her. Then, it saw Hong Xian angrily walking towards Yen Ling Heir's prisoner carriage. Not long after, Yen Ling Heir's howls and curses were heard, but they were ignored by everyone present. The evildoer who had just entered the beast carriage was about to say a few words to Shui when a woman's painful howl came from outside. He frowned and felt a little resentful that the voice came at the wrong time and disturbed his time with Shui. "What's going on outside?" Leng Ruoxue asked curiously. This voice should be Yen Ling's, but why was she screaming so miserably? "I don't know. There's no need to care about those irrelevant things." The demon pulled Shui into his arms and said indifferently. Yu Qing and Xiang, who were originally in the carriage, left the moment they saw the evildoer enter. Otherwise, Leng Ruoxue would not have allowed the evildoer to do whatever he wanted. However, in the car, the most he could do was hug her. "Oh, the team has stopped?" Leng Ruoxue asked again. "Yes, he said he wanted to rest and prepare lunch." The demon said, a little speechless. They really know how to enjoy themselves." Leng Ruoxue didn't know what to say. She didn't seem to have walked much in the morning. "Why are you resting so soon?" By the time they arrive at the Yen clan would have received the news and made preparations. The demon laughed evilly. "Yes." Leng Ruoxue nodded. Previously, she had specially asked Yu Qing to secretly return to Yen City and leak the news. The Yen clan should be making preparations by now. At this moment, the voice of the Hong family's master suddenly rang in their ears. They looked at each other and saw the impatience in each other's eyes. "Master Hong, what's the matter?" Leng Ruoxue and the demon opened the curtains and walked out unwillingly. "Young Miss Leng, I've ordered my subordinates to prepare lunch. Let's eat together." The master of the Hong family smiled very affably. Although the man in front of him was an eyesore, he couldn't show it because of his demeanor. "Thank you, Master Hong. However, I've already asked the maidservants to prepare the food, so we won't be eating with you." Leng Ruoxue declined. "All right then." After hearing Leng Ruoxue's words, the master of the Hong family did not force her. He nodded his head slightly and turned to leave. "Miss, the food is ready." Yu Qing, who had been paying attention to their movements, suddenly shouted. Then he took out a table from his storage ring and placed the food on it. "Yes." Leng Ruoxue chuckled as she walked to the table and pulled the evildoer to sit down with her. Yu Qing, Xiang, and Shui Ying sat down beside them. "Shui, I feel a very unfriendly gaze." "Not just one, at least two, at most three." Shui Ying smiled as he spoke in a tongue-twister-like manner. "Can't you stuff your mouth with food?" Leng Ruoxue rolled her eyes at Shui Ying and said helplessly. "I'm just reminding you to be careful." Shui Ying chuckled, his face clearly showing that he wanted to watch a good show. "Don't you think you're too free? Do you want me to cancel the master-servant contract between us and throw you to that Miss Lu?" Leng Ruoxue raised her brows slightly and teased. She had heard everything they had said outside, so she naturally knew how Shui Ying had replied. "Don't I'm in the wrong, or?" Shui Ying said with a face full of fear, and secretly made up his mind. If Shui really threw him to Hong Xian, then he would go all out and kill that woman. It can do it. It wasn't a kind fox to begin with. Chapter 1332, Being Framed, 3. It's a great virtue to know one's mistake and change for the better. However, you have to tell me, what did you say to Hong Xian just now? Why did she turn around and look for trouble with Yen Ling? Leng Ruoxue asked curiously. Shui, curiosity killed the cat. Snow Shadow reminded. I'm not a cat, so I'm not afraid. Leng Ruoxue said disapprovingly. That's good. Then I'll tell you. Actually, I didn't say anything. However, when she told Hong Xian that Yen Ling was also having ideas about someone, she exploded in anger. So, Yen Ling was unlucky. Shui, I've taken revenge for you. Shui Ying said with a fawning expression. Why don't you tell Hong Xian that Hong Lian is also thinking about the demon? Leng Ruoxue asked out of curiosity. Even if I told her, Hong Xen wouldn't believe me, unless she sees the truth with her own eyes. Shui Ying said in understanding, and his gaze involuntarily turned to the demon. Don't even think about it, I can't be bothered to put on an act with them. The demon warned coldly. How would I dare to have any ideas about you? I just want to borrow the beastie that can set up illusions from Shui. Shui Ying quickly clarified. You said confusion? Lung Ruoxue asked in surprise. It seemed like Shui Ying was quite familiar with her beastie. Yes, lend it to me. Snow Shadow requested. All right then. Lung Ruoxue nodded. With a thought, she took out a small, snow-white snake from her bracelet. Master! The moment the charm appeared, it took the initiative to climb onto Lung Ruoxue's wrist. Hey, you little snake, why do you only have eyes for your master? Don't tell me you didn't see us? Seeing that he had been ignored, Shui Ying could not help but say with some envy and jealousy. Shouldn't a beastie only have its master in its eyes? Hua said matter-of-factly. Alright, you're right. But you can't just ignore the rest of us. You should at least inform us. Shui Ying said, somewhat unconvinced. You are reading on MBO Xen 0 VL. Come, you're not even human. Hua mumbled softly, then buried his head under his body, ignoring the bored fox. Haha. Seeing Shui Ying's depressed expression, Lung Ruoxue couldn't help but smile happily. Her spiritual beasts were really too cute. Shui, your beastie is too good at bullying people. Snow Shadow accused. You're not a human, you're a fox. Lung Ruoxue mimicked the tone of confusion. Haha. Hearing Lung Ruoxue's words, Yu Qing and Xiang couldn't help but chuckle softly, while Shui Ying was even more depressed. Burying his head in his food, Shui Ying was so depressed that he didn't want to bother with bad people like Lung Ruoxue. Seeing this, Lung Ruoxue took the initiative to place the bewitching god on Shui Ying's claws and said, Take it and play. You're the one who let me play with this. Shui Ying raised his head and said excitedly. There was no trace of gloominess on his face. Yes. Lung Ruoxue nodded her head helplessly. After lunch, the group from the Hong family continued on their way. In the evening, they specially found a spacious area to set up their tents. Master Hong wanted to help Lung Ruoxue and the others set up their tents as well, but he was rejected. After dinner, Lung Ruoxue brought the evildoer, Yu Qing and Xiang, into the bracelet to rest while Shui Ying sneaked out of the tent. The next morning, Lung Ruoxue and the rest had just left the tent when they felt that the atmosphere was not right. However, she did not think too much about it. Miss Lung, can I have a word with you? Just as Lung Ruoxue was about to eat her breakfast, Master Hong walked over with a serious expression. Master Hong, if you have anything to say, just say it. They're not outsiders. Lung Ruoxue chuckled. I want to talk to you in private. The head of the Hong family said. Lung Ruoxue glanced at the evildoer. Seeing that he did not object, she nodded her head unwillingly. Following that, she followed behind Master Hong. Watching them walk away, Yu Qing couldn't help but worry, that guy wouldn't have any bad intentions towards young miss, right? What can't you say in front of us? Why must you say it in private? He definitely doesn't have any good intentions. Don't talk nonsense. Maybe that Master Hong really has something to discuss with our young miss. Can't you see how cautious he is? Xiang sneaked a glance at the evildoer and pulled Yu Qing's sleeve as she reminded him. That's true. If he dares to have any ill intentions towards Miss, then he'll definitely be the unlucky one. Yu Qing hurriedly said, her heart couldn't help but beat wildly. That was close. Fortunately Xiang reminded her, otherwise if she continued to speak, Leader Yi would definitely fly into a rage. At this moment, Lung Ruoxue had followed Master Hong out of the line of sight. Seeing that he had no intention of stopping, she said directly, Hong family head, are you planning to walk back to Hong City? If you have anything to say, say it here. All right. The master of the Hong family nodded and said awkwardly. In fact, he just wanted to stay away from his family's team, but he didn't expect to walk so far by accident. Miss Lung, didn't you hear anything last night? The head of the Hong family couldn't help asking. Should I have heard something? I'm sorry, I slept too deeply last night and didn't hear anything. However, does this have anything to do with what the Hong family's head is talking about? Lung Ruox's face was filled with bewilderment. She was extremely annoyed by the master of the Hong family's nonsense. Last night, the man beside you seduced my 2 daughters and caused them to turn against each other. Shouldn't Miss Lung give me an explanation for this matter? The master of the Hong family took a deep breath and said with some difficulty, Master Hong, do you know what you're saying? He was with me the entire time yesterday. How could he have the chance to seduce your daughter? Lung Ruoxue laughed coldly as she retorted, It wasn't the first or second day that the Hong sisters had been coveting the evildoer, so why would they need to specially seduce him? If she didn't seduce him, she would probably take the initiative to pounce on him. Miss Lung, are you sure? There's no man who doesn't like to play around. Maybe he sneaked out while you were asleep, so you didn't know. The head of the Hong family reminded, Master Hong, I know my man better than anyone else. He would never do such a thing. If you want to sow discord, I'm afraid you've found the wrong person. Lung Ruox's beautiful face was filled with mockery. Chapter 1333, Being Framed, 4. Miss Lung, please don't be angry. He was indeed the one who did something good yesterday. We all saw it. The head of the Hong family said with a pained expression. Actually, his words were indeed trying to sow discord. However, for the sake of the 3 of them, he had no choice but to say these words. However, he didn't want Lung Ruoxue to misunderstand him. Otherwise, it would be counterproductive. Master Hong, you said he did a good thing. He also said that you all saw it. Then can you tell me what good things he has done? Lung Ruoxue asked a little impatiently. This man had been talking for a long time, but he still did not get to the point. Her patience was running out. Last night, my eldest daughter, Linu, was seen by my youngest daughter, Exin, when they were confessing their feelings to each other. Therefore, the 2 of them have completely fallen out because of this man. The head of the Hong family said helplessly, What does that have to do with me? Lung Ruoxue couldn't understand. Hong Shiner had seen your eldest daughter and the evildoer expressing their love for each other. That was a matter between your daughters, it shouldn't be her fault. Therefore, she really couldn't understand why the head of the Hong family had come to find her. Miss Lung, is he not your man? Your man is having an affair with another woman behind your back, can you bear it? The master of the Hong family reminded her with a face full of righteous indignation. Actually, what he said was a little exaggerated. Last night, it wasn't Lien and that devilish man who were confessing their feelings to each other. It was a confession to the man, and Exin happened to see it. Exin immediately made a fuss and made it known to everyone. The man took the opportunity to slip away, causing him to be unable to find anyone to settle the score with. He had endured it with great difficulty until the morning before he impatiently went to find Lung Ruoxue. Master Hong, aren't you exaggerating a little too much? Even a fool can tell that your 2 daughters like my man, but I'm sure you're well aware of my man's attitude towards them. How could they possibly confide in each other? Lung Ruoxue asked with a smile. Miss Lung, men always like to act one way in front of others and another way behind their backs. Maybe he did it on purpose for you to see. In fact, he has an improper relationship with my 2 daughters. The head of the Hong family said. Lung Ruoxue laughed when she heard Master Hong's words. She was speechless as she said, It seems like Master Hong really wants my man to be related to your 2 daughters. This is the first time I've seen a father who slanders his own daughter. Miss Lung, you've misunderstood me. It's absolutely true that the man beside you has a relationship with my daughter. Don't be fooled by him again. The head of the Hong family said with a face full of disappointment, but in his heart, he couldn't help but sigh. Was he overreaching himself? Master Hong, I'm clear whether my man is related to your 2 daughters or not. I think you also know whether what happened last night was true or not. Therefore, I don't want to hear such words anymore. Otherwise, I can't guarantee what I will do. Lung Ruoxue warned. The coldness in her words caused Master Hong's heart to tremble. With that, Lung Ruoxue turned around and left. Looking at Lung Ruoxue's back, Master Hong was extremely vexed. How could this be? Shouldn't women be angry and jealous when they hear such things? Why was this woman's reaction so different? He could not understand. Originally, he had wanted to use last night's incident to cause a rift between them so that he could take advantage of it. But who knew that not only did he not achieve the effect he wanted, but he had also overreached himself. How did this happen? He had to make that man take responsibility for his daughter. Otherwise, he would not be able to get what he wanted. Thinking of this, he turned around and walked back. When he returned to the group, he saw Leng Ruoxue and that devilish man sitting under the shade of a tree acting lovey-dovey while his two daughters each stood in a corner, glaring at the two of them with hidden bitterness. You are reading on IBOXN0vil. Calm when he saw this, he walked up without hesitation and asked angrily, "What did you do to my daughter yesterday? You've caused them to almost die, so you have to give me an explanation." This time, he was speaking directly to the evildoer. The evildoer, who was talking to Leng Ruoxue, was confused by Master Hong's sudden words. He raised his head and glanced at Master Hong, then at the two daughters of the Hong family. He then said in an extremely cold tone, "What did I do to them? Weren't they living well? How is it dying? You still dare to deny it? You're the one who seduced my two daughters, and now you're denying it. Are you even a man?" The master of the Hong family was so angry that his face turned red and he roared in anger. When Leng Ruoxue saw the look on Master Hong's face, she sighed speechlessly and thought to herself, "Sigh. This Hong family's main lead was addicted to acting." Seeing that she didn't believe his words, he directly found the evildoer. This time, he was the one looking for death. Initially, when Leng Ruoxue returned, she did not tell the demon about what the master of the Hong family had told her. She was afraid that the demon would be so angry that he would want to exterminate the entire Hong family. She wanted to watch a good show, so she kept it a secret. Who knew that the master of the Hong family would court death and send himself to the muzzle of the gun? So, good luck. A demon's temper wasn't very good when dealing with irrelevant people. I seduced your two daughters? Are they worth seducing? The demon said with a face full of disdain, his eyes full of ridicule and contempt. You want to renege on your debt? I'm telling you, you can't just do whatever you want to my Hong family's daughter. You have to be responsible for them, or else I won't let you off. The head of the Hong family threatened. Really a joke? What responsibility do I have to take for them? They're not anyone to me. Are you delusional? If you're afraid that your daughters can't get married, then don't be too picky. Just find a beggar for them to marry off. The evildoer said viciously. In other words, he was saying that his daughter was only fit to marry a beggar. Then, the demon asked with a curious smile, "What do you want to do to me?" You? Master Hong was so angry that he couldn't speak. On the other hand, Leng Ruoxue couldn't help but laugh in her heart. The mouth of the evildoer was really poisonous. In comparison, she was still considered gentle. At least, she didn't ask the head of the Hong family to marry his daughter to a beggar. However, beggars didn't seem to be common in the immortal realm. I'm afraid that these two daughters can't be married off. Chapter 1334, Being Framed, 5. Just as Leng Ruoxue's thoughts were running wild, Hong Xen suddenly ran over and shouted, "How can you do this to me? I'm already pregnant with your child." As soon as Hong Xin's words came out, the entire place fell silent. Everyone didn't even dare to breathe, and they all looked at Hong Xen in disbelief. When Leng Ruoxue heard Hong Xin's words, she felt as if she had been struck by lightning. Black lines appeared on her forehead, and she felt as if her strength was not in her heart. She could not help but sigh in her heart. It seemed that Hong Xen had gone crazy to be able to say such words. However, when she saw Hong Lian standing not far away with a smug expression, she understood. It looked like Hong Lian was planning to use Hong Xien as a weapon. First, she would force the evildoer to agree to be responsible for the daughter of the Hong family. The next step would probably be to think of a way to get rid of this eyesore of a younger sister. Poor Hong Xien. He was actually happy to be used by his sister. How lamentable. Miss Hong, are you sure the child in your stomach is mine? Or rather, it could be said that Miss Hong was sure that there was a child in her stomach? Don't accuse me. I'll be angry. The demon laughed nonchalantly. Although the evildoer was smiling, for some reason, in Hong Xin's eyes, his smile did not make her heart palpitate. She even felt a chill in her heart. She was about to retreat, but Hong Lian's voice rang in her heart again. Here, do you want to waste all your efforts? This is the best opportunity. Hong Lian sensed Hong Xin's fear and quickly warned him. But he makes me so scared. Hong Xian said timidly. Don't be afraid. Think about the feeling of being held in his arms. Isn't that what you want? Hong Lian tempted. Yes. Hong Xian subconsciously nodded. Yes, she was really jealous of that woman who could be unscrupulous and be held in the arms of that godlike evil man. She also wanted to be like that. Therefore, after hearing Hong Lian's words, she made up her mind to persist until the end. Of course it's yours. Don't tell me you don't want to admit it? Hong Xian said angrily, her body trembling slightly. People who didn't know what was going on would think that she was angry, but in fact, she was afraid. Since it's mine, then you should give birth to it. The demon nodded. You're willing to acknowledge this child? Hong Xin's face was full of joy. She didn't expect things to be so easy. She had planned to die until the end. Who knew that the man she liked would actually ask her to give birth to this child? But then she realized a very serious problem, because she didn't have a child at all, so how could she get a child that was made up? So, what should I do? She was depressed. Of course, I'll acknowledge my child. The demon laughed evilly. There was one more sentence that he did not say out loud, and that was, if it's not my child, don't even think about framing me. Since you're willing to acknowledge her, then quickly marry my daughter. The master of the Hong family continued the conversation, somewhat impatiently. Master Hong, what's the hurry? We'll talk about this after the child is born. The demon laughed. What do you mean by this? Didn't you already acknowledge this child? The master of the Hong family didn't know what was going on. He thought that the matter had already been settled, but who knew that she would only be willing to marry after the child was born? How could Shiner have a child? Even if the other party believed him, he would ti. Master Hong, we're all men. You should know that you can't just randomly acknowledge a child. Otherwise, you'll be depressed to death if you raise someone else's child. The demon raised his eyebrows. Then what do you want? The head of the Hong family sighed helplessly. It seemed like this man wasn't as easy to fool as he thought. Miss Hong, didn't you say that you have a child? I want to see the child. It's that simple. The demon said matter-of-factly. After he finished speaking, he carried Lung Ruoxue and turned around to return to the tent. After entering the tent, Lung Ruoxue had a change of heart and brought the evildoer into the bracelet. Sitting on the stone chair in front of the purple bamboo house, the demon stared unblinkingly at Lung Ruoxue. After a long while, he said, Shui, shouldn't you tell me what the patriarch of the Hong family told you? That's what I'm talking about. I didn't dare to tell you because I was afraid you'd be angry. Lung Ruoxue said guiltily. You're afraid I'll be angry? Are you not angry? The demon could not help but ask. What's there to be angry about? Well, just treat it like we're watching a bunch of clowns. They've managed to entertain us anyway, haven't they? Lung Ruoxue said disapprovingly. But I've been wronged. I've been wronged for having my child. The demon had an aggrieved look on his face, and there were tears in his eyes. It was obvious that he wanted Lung Ruoxue to take responsibility for him. Didn't you also make them conjure up a child? I think they should be the ones worrying now. I'm sure they'll be racking their brains for this child. Lung Ruoxue patted the evildoer's head like she was petting a puppy as she comforted him. Shui, I'm not your baby. The demon said with some dissatisfaction. He pulled Shui into his arms and started to eat. After a long time, the demon was satisfied, but he still remembered what had happened. He roared into the void, Snow Shadow, get out here. After waiting for a while, he did not see the big snow-white fox. I'll count to 3. If you don't get the hell out, you'll have to bear the consequences. The demon threatened the void. Just as he was about to count, he saw a snow-white figure walk out from the dark unwillingly. Shui Ying carefully and fearfully nudged his small steps until the demon's patience ran out and he roared again, "You're a fox, not a snail. If you continue to be so slow, I'll roast you. I'm coming." When Snow Shadow heard this, he hurriedly ran in front of the evildoer to please him, his face full of solicitousness. "What did you do last night? Is the child in Hong Zin's stomach yours?" The demon asked loudly with a cold face. When Lung Ruoxue heard the demon's question, she had to suppress her laughter. This demon was really too evil. He clearly knew that it was a child that didn't exist, yet he still used it to ask Snow Shadow. He was clearly trying to scare it. However, she was also clear that Shui Ying must have done something last night. Otherwise, the Hong family members' expressions this morning would not be so strange. No, absolutely not. I haven't even touched that woman's hand. How could she have a child? When Snow Shadow heard the evildoer's words, he quickly shook his head and explained, "Ooh, it's a fox that keeps its body as pure as jade. You can't wrong it like this." "Then what did you do last night? Tell me the truth." The demon half squinted his eyes and ordered, "Yes, I'll explain. Actually, I really didn't do anything bad last night. I just asked Hua to transform into your appearance and went out alone. Then, that Hong Lian came to confess to me. After that, Hong Xian also came. They just happened to bump into each other and started fighting. I saw that my goal was achieved, so I ran away. That's all." Shui Ying said honestly, but he felt wronged in his heart. He really didn't expect things to turn out like this. If he had known earlier, he wouldn't have looked for trouble. It was so regretful now that its intestines had turned green. Its only hope was that this petty man would not make things difficult for it because of this matter. At the thought of this, its pleading gaze drifted towards Lung Ruoxue. Its eyes were red as if it was saying, "Swear, I've done everything according to your instructions. You can't just leave me." When Lung Ruoxue saw Snow Shadow's pleading expression, she could not help but laugh in her heart. Actually, the demon was just scaring it. Why would he really be angry over this matter? After all, in their eyes, the things that the Hong family had done were just a big joke. They didn't take it to heart at all. However, since the Hong family was trying to frame them, they naturally wouldn't be polite. They had to return the favor with a generous gift. It could be considered as returning the favor. Chapter 1335. Foxes Don't Eat Fish, 1. At the thought of this, Lung Ruoxue pretended to be unhappy and said, "Shui Ying, although this matter can't be completely blamed on you, this matter was still caused by you. So, you have to be responsible for the aftermath." How do I deal with the aftermath? Shui Ying was confused. "Think of it yourself," Lung Ruoxue said irresponsibly. After she finished speaking, she pulled the demon back to the purple bamboo house, leaving the distressed Shui Ying alone in a daze. Shui Ying stood in place with a depressed look on his face. He thought for a long time but could not come up with a good idea. Looking at Shui Ying's sighing appearance, Yu Qing and Xiang walked out from the dark while holding back their laughter. They pretended to be puzzled and asked, "Shui Ying, what's wrong with you? Do foxes have troubles too? Why can't a fox have troubles? Don't look down on the fox." Snow Shadow said unhappily. Right now, he was very annoyed. Who could he blame then? You're the one who started this. Yu Qing said without the slightest bit of sympathy. How can you blame me for this? If you want to blame someone, you can only blame that devilish man for being too charming. Wu. Shui Ying's face was filled with grievance. Although this matter was his doing, if it wasn't for that devilish man's great attraction, it wouldn't have gotten out of hand. In fact, if you want me to say, this matter has nothing to do with you at all. If you want to blame someone, you can only blame that pair of sisters for overthinking things and really thinking that they are hot cakes. Do men have to like them? Xiang said disdainfully. Although she was a beastie, she also hated women who thought they were all right. Xiang is right. You understand me? When Shui Ying heard Xiang words, she was touched and tears welled up in her eyes. All right, don't act. Miss isn't here. You should think about how to deal with this matter. Otherwise, if we let them continue like this, guild leader, you will definitely fly into a rage. Yu Qing kindly reminded. I've been thinking about it for a long time, but I can't think of any good ideas. Why don't you help me think of one? Snow Shadow asked for help. Directly cut off the father and daughter trio, saving time and effort. What do you think? Yu Qing didn't even think and directly said. This won't do. If they suddenly die, the Hong family will definitely suspect the demonic man. At that time, it'll definitely be the one in trouble. I'm not doing it. Shui Ying said with a face full of fear, but in his heart, he was secretly sighing. This violent female beast, the Moon Eye. Why do you only know how to kill people? We can't keep them around and cause trouble for Miss and Commander Yi. Yu Qing said with a frown. Aren't they going to the Yen residence to cause trouble? Just let the Yen clan take care of them. That way, we won't have anything to do with them. Even if the Hong clan wants revenge, they'll find the Yen clan, not us. Xiang thought for a moment and said. Xiang is still the smart one. Shuang heard Xiang Er's idea and said with a fawning expression. Smart? Isn't this what we've been planning all along? It's just that there's a bit of trouble now, so I have to change the plan a little. Their original plan was to watch the Yen clan and the Hong clan fight for the clam crane. However, since the Hong clan had come up with such a move, there was no need for the father and daughter trio to exist anymore. They would just let the Yen clan deal with them so as to not dirty their hands. As for the Yen clan, after getting rid of the Hong family, they would also suffer a great loss. In addition, they would have to be on guard against the Hong family's revenge at all times. Therefore, this was much more satisfying than directly killing them. The effect would also be better. That's because you reminded us. Shui Ying said with a smile. All right. Since you've said so, I'll take the credit. Xiang said helplessly. Yes. Snow Shadow nodded happily. In contrast to Shui Ying's gloominess, the people from the Hong family were completely in a state of madness. In the Hong family's tent, the head of the Hong family looked at his two daughters who were kneeling on the ground and felt a surge of anger in his heart. The other elders sitting there also had ugly expressions. Father, you have to help me. Hong Exon cried like a pear blossom with tears and said pitifully. What do you want me to make the decision for? Why didn't you think of asking me when you said those things? The head of the Hong family said angrily. Although he had supported his daughter at that time, there were no outsiders here now. Naturally, he would not help this daughter who failed in her task and was good at causing trouble like before. From the moment she asked him to give birth to the child, he knew very well that she did not believe his stupid daughter's words at all. Not to mention outsiders, even he, as the father, could not believe it. Or had only known them for a few days, and they had not even spoken to her alone. How could she suddenly have a child? This daughter was really not an ordinary kind of stupid. She wanted to rely on him, but she couldn't think of a better reason. She just had to come up with the worst one, causing their Hong family to lose face. The elders were all dissatisfied. This time, their Hong family's face could be considered to have been completely lost by this daughter. Father, it was my sister who told me to say that. Hong Exine told the truth. In fact, she was a little scared, so she gave up her sister to get her help. I know you hate me, but you can't wrong me like this. When did I ask you to say such things? After hearing Hong Xin's words, Hong Lian quickly retorted. Her beautiful face was still filled with disappointment towards her sister. Sister, you were the one who sent me a voice transmission to tell me that you had a child. How can you deny it? Hong Exen said somewhat angrily. Since young, she had always listened to her sister's words. This was because her sister had always thought for her and helped her come up with ideas. Hence, she had an unusual trust in her sister Hong Lian. Although they both liked the same man and had an unpleasant encounter last night, she still instinctively believed in Hong Lian's words. However, she did not expect that Hong Lian would not admit it. This made her somewhat at a loss. Father, you have to believe me. How could I let Exeter say such brainless words? Hong Lian's face was full of grievance. His face was filled with a pitiful expression. Father, It was sister who told me to say it, you have to believe me. Hong Xian roared, not willing to show weakness. Chapter 1336, Foxes Don't Eat Fish Too. All of you shut up. I don't care who came up with this idea, but I'll just ask you one thing. How do you plan to deal with this matter? The head of the Hong family said with a headache. In fact, he knew very well that Xian couldn't think of such an idea to frame her, but he also resented her for being brainless, so he deliberately didn't help her. Father, you have to make the decision for me. Now that things have come to this, you must force him to marry me. Hong Xian quickly requested as soon as he heard his father's words. How about you? Master Hong's gaze turned to Hong Lian. He felt a little more loathing towards this daughter who even schemed against his own sister. However, he did not show it on his face. I will listen to you, father. Hong Lian said softly. Actually, she was a little timid. The master of the Hong family listened to his two daughters' answers and didn't say anything for a long time. However, his eyes kept sizing them up, making Hong Xian and Hong Lian feel very uneasy. One of you wants me to make the decision, and the other wants you to listen to me. Since that's the case, I'll tell you now that I can't do anything about this matter. Unless you can immediately conjure up that man's child, otherwise, don't even think about him marrying you. After a long while, the head of the Hong family said coldly, Father, he doesn't even bother to look at me, how am I supposed to get his child? Hong Xian said with a bitter face, Don't you have your own ideas? Then I'll have to find a way myself. But there's one thing you have to remember, our Hong family's face can't be lost anymore. The head of the Hong family reminded. Yes, Father. Hong Xian heard her father's words and didn't dare to say anything. She knew that her father was angry. Also, remember, the one you like is the fifth young master of the Yen family. Don't let others think that you're a promiscuous woman. The head of the Hong clan warned Hong Lian again. Right now, everyone in the outside world knew that the person Hong Lian liked was the fifth young master of the Yen clan, and their Hong and Yen clans had fallen out because of the unsuccessful marriage. Therefore, if the matter of Lian confessing to another man were to spread, wouldn't their enmity with the Yen clan become a joke? In this case, how could he go to the Yen family to seek justice? Yes. Hong Lian also replied softly. After that, the master of the Hong family sent the two daughters out. Then he talked nicely to the elders who were sitting there. Only then did the elders not pursue the matter. However, the elders of the Hong family had made a promise in advance and asked the master to guarantee that their two daughters would not cause any more scandals. After that, the group from the Hong family continued on their way. A day later, the group from the Hong clan had arrived outside Yen City. For the past day or so, the two sisters from the Hong clan had been extremely cautious and did not continue to pester the demon. Seeing this, Lun Ruoxue was a little worried. This was too abnormal. At least, it did not match her understanding of the two sisters. Shui, what are you looking at? The demon looked at Shui, looking out through the curtains of the beast carriage and couldn't help but ask curiously. At the same time, he was a little dissatisfied. Could it be that the scenery outside was better than his? Why didn't Shui, take a good look at him? I'm looking at the Hong sisters. Lung Ruoxue spoke the truth. After yesterday's incident, their relationship with the Hong family had become a little awkward and delicate. So, along the way, although they were in the middle of the Hong family's group, both sides had almost no communication. The Hong family's head also did not come over to curry favor. What's there to see about them? You'd better take a good look at me. The demon turned to Lung Ruoxue and complained. They haven't appeared in front of us for a day. Aren't you curious about what they're up to? Lung Ruoxue asked with a smile. I'm not curious because it doesn't matter what they think. You'll protect me. The demon said coyly. It's good that you know. Lung Ruoxue touched the demon's head and praised him. Shui, im not Bao Bao and the others. Seeing that his head had been touched again, the demon was a little unhappy. He was not a beastie. But sometimes, you're even better at acting coquettishly than them. Lung Ruoxue said helplessly. However, she had no intention of taking her hand down. Miss, the Hong family is going to set up camp outside the city. Suddenly, Yu Qing's voice rang out. Ever since Commander Yi had taken over the beast carriage, she and Xiang could only follow behind the carriage on foot. Oh! Lung Ruoxue responded softly and pulled the demon down from the beast carriage. After she came down, she saw that the Hong family had already started setting up the tent. Furthermore, the fire had already been raised. It looked like they were preparing to cook. Lung Ruoxue raised her head and looked at the sky. It was afternoon now, and there was still some time before evening. It was already past lunchtime, so she really didn't know if what they were having was considered lunch or dinner. However, the members of the Hong family had been so agitated for the past 2 days that they were a little distracted. It seemed normal to have a meal at this time, so she tried to help them out in her heart. At this moment, the master of the Hong family finally walked over and pointed at a small mountain peak not far away. He smiled and said, "Miss Lung, that's Yen City. Our common enemy, the Yen clan, is in that city." "Oh." Lung Ruoxue replied softly and looked at the 2 words, Yen City on the mountainside. She couldn't help but think to herself, it's not like I can't read. This Master Hong is just trying to find a topic. Previously, she was still wondering when the Hong family would appear in front of her again. She didn't expect this Master Hong to be so insistent on it. Furthermore, he even classified the Yen family as their common enemy. When she heard such words, she had to hold back her laughter. In fact, in her eyes, the Yen family was not a real enemy at all. It was just that 2 blind people from the Yen family had annoyed her. Naturally, she would not let the entire Yen family die with her because of such a small matter. However, the premise was that it would depend on the Yen family's performance. How does Master Hong plan to deal with the Yen clan? Lung Ruoxue asked, pretending to be curious. Does Miss Lung have any good plans? Why don't you tell me? The head of the Hong family said expectantly. I'm a woman who has never seen the world. What kind of plan can I have? Besides, these fights and killing are all men's affairs. I won't get involved. Lung Ruoxue chuckled, obviously waiting for a good show. Chapter 1337. Foxes Don't Eat Fish, 3. However, when he heard Lung Ruoxue's words, not only did Master Hong not feel any dissatisfaction, but he was even pleased with himself. A woman was a woman after all. Other than hiding behind a man, there was nothing else she could do. He would let the woman in front of him know that he was a very powerful man and not an embroidered pillow with only an appearance. Because in his heart, evildoers were classified as embroidered pillows by him. He would soon prove that he was definitely more than 100 times stronger than that man. The master of the Hong family was full of confidence and secretly pleased with himself. Even his eyes were filled with contempt as he looked at the evildoer. However, his smug and disdainful gaze was ignored by Lung Ruoxue and the demon. In their eyes, the master of the Hong family was just like a clown. After the head of the Hong family left, Yu Qing looked at his back angrily. She couldn't help but curse in a low voice. Look at how smug he is. I really hate him. I really want to cut him into 8 pieces and throw him into the sea to feed the fish. Don't you want to eat him? Shui Ying stretched out his big furry head and winked as he said, Why should I eat him? Yu Jing's face was filled with question marks. You're a soul-gnawing beast. Shui Ying reminded him as if it was a matter of course. Although I'm a soul-gnawing beast, soul-gnawing beasts are also picky eaters. They won't eat anything unclean. Of course, souls are an exception. Yu Qing said very cautiously. Then you can eat his soul and make him disappear from this world. This is a matter of boundless merit. Shui Ying said with a smile. Let me consider it. Yu Qing said somewhat unwillingly. After following the young miss for a few years, she had become used to eating vegetarian food and was even more picky than before. If it was in the past, she might have agreed without hesitation, but now she didn't want to eat that much. Moreover, if she ate an unclean soul, she didn't know if it would cause her to have diarrhea. Is there a need to consider this? You're a soul-gnawing beast. After hearing Yu Qing's words, Shui Ying said in an extremely speechless manner. Which soul-gnawing beast would not like to eat souls? Now that it was delivered to her mouth, she was actually still complaining about this and that. She was really too much. So what if it's a soul-gnawing beast? As a soul-gnawing beast, can't I have my own preferences? I'm telling you very seriously right now, I don't like to eat souls anymore. Yu Qing said disapprovingly. She had originally wanted to consider it, but after hearing what Shui Ying said, she didn't want to eat it anymore. AI. It's going to rain, mother is going to get married, and the soul-gnawing beast is no longer eating souls. Is the world changing? Endless Snow Shadow lamented. Its antics had made Leng Ruoxue and the others laugh. You're getting more and more mischievous. Hurry up and start a fire to cook. We'll eat too. Leng Ruoxue tugged at Shui Ying's long hair and ordered helplessly. Image. My image. I'm a noble fox. Can you not grab me like you're grabbing a puppy? This will damage my tall image. Shui Ying growled in a low voice with a bitter expression. Hurry up and go. When Leng Ruoxue heard Shui Ying's words, she didn't know whether to laugh or cry as she patted Shui Ying's butt and urged him. Arg. Shui. You, how can you touch my butt? My pure body. I've been tainted by you just like that. Shui Ying's eyes were filled with tears as she complained tearfully, looking like a little wife who had been bullied. Shui Ying's words caused Leng Ruoxue and the rest to be filled with black lines. The evildoer was so angry that he wanted to beat Shui Ying up. Shui Ying quickly hid behind Leng Ruoxue when he saw this and even chided her with an aggrieved expression. Your woman touched my butt and you want to kill me? Why is my life so bitter? I've met you two bad guys with ulterior motives. You're all bullying me. After Snow Shadow finished speaking, he ran away with tears in his eyes without looking back. Miss, should we go and find it? It would be terrible if it was caught by someone else. Xiang said with a worried look. You and Yu Qing should go and find it. Leng Ruoxue's face was solemn, and she would look in the direction that Shui Ying had left from time to time. Then we'll go. After Yu Qing and Xiang finished speaking, they also chased in the direction that Shui Ying had left. Miss Leng, what happened? At this moment, the head of the Hong family walked over and asked with concern. My beast pet threw a tantrum with me and ran away from home. Leng Ruoxue sighed as she spoke, her beautiful face filled with helplessness. However, she couldn't help but think, didn't you all see it? Still asking. Miss Leng, this is not a joke. I'll send someone to help you find it. Otherwise, it would be terrible if it was caught and used to threaten you. The head of the Hong family reminded. Then he'll have to trouble you, Master Hong. Leng Ruoxue said gratefully. It's no trouble at all. You came with me. Now that something has happened, I should help. The head of the Hong family said matter-of-factly. After that, he ordered the Hong family to split up and search for the big snow-white fox. However, they did not find Shui Ying's whereabouts even after searching several times in the vicinity by the time it was dark. Looking at the anxious Leng Ruoxue, Master Hong could not help but comfort her. Miss Leng, don't be too anxious. We'll find it. Master Hong, you're more familiar with this place, so where do you think they'll go? Could he have run into Yen City? Leng Ruoxue asked in a daze. I don't think so. That fox is heading in the direction of Yen City. If I'm not wrong, it should be hiding in the forest near Yen City. The head of the Hong family analyzed. Although that forest is not big, but to find a beastie, it is not a matter of a short time. So, Miss Leng must not be anxious. Tomorrow at dawn, I will send people to look for it. The head of the Hong family said again, secretly pleased with himself. At this point, Leng Ruoxue should know the benefits of having more subordinates. Even though the man beside her was quite good-looking, it was a pity that he had no one to rely on when faced with such a situation. He could only watch helplessly. Hence, he believed that after this incident, Leng Ruoxue would definitely be able to compare who was better between him and that man and make the best choice. Then he'll have to trouble you, Master Hong. Leng Ruoxue said softly. After she finished speaking, she pulled the evildoer to sit at the side. Her face still looked troubled. Chapter 1338. Foxes Don't Eat Fish. 4. As for Shui Ying, who had been turned upside down by the Hong family but could not be found, she was currently sitting in the Yen family's main residence in Yen City, drinking tea and eating snacks. In the guest courtyard of the Yen clan. 4 outstanding men and women, as well as a huge fox, were sitting in the room and chatting. "Miss, do you have any instructions?" Ziyu said helplessly as she looked at Shui Ying, who was only focused on eating. In her heart, she was secretly sighing. How long had it been since this fox had eaten? Why did it look like it was starving to death? "No, I didn't eat," Shui Ying mumbled, his claws still holding on to the snacks as he kept putting them into his mouth. "Can't you eat later? If you don't know, you'll think that Miss mistreated you and didn't give you anything to eat." Bai Xian said helplessly, beads of sweat rolling down his forehead. "Shui Ying, don't embarrass the young lady anymore, all right? We didn't let you starve." Yu Qing said somewhat angrily. "But I'm hungry. The Yen family's food is quite delicious." Snow Shadow praised as he ate. "They don't even care how delicious the food is now." These few days, the Yen clan had been making preparations for the Hong clan's upcoming arrival. Everyone was overwrought with work, and even they had been given the cold shoulder. In the past, the second master of the Yen clan would frequently come to accompany them, but now he had not appeared for several days. However, Lung Ruox's presence outside the city was good news to them. After hearing this news, he couldn't wait to grow wings and fly over to see the young miss. However, he was stopped by Shui Ying. "When will we be able to see the young lady?" Ziyu couldn't help but ask. "You should be able to see it when the Hong clan attacks the Yen clan." Shui Ying said. "Then when does the Hong clan plan to make their move?" Ziyu could not help but ask. "I don't know. That Master Hong is more concerned about Shui, and his 2 daughters are more concerned about that demonic man, so I'm guessing that they most likely don't have the mood to deal with the Yen family now." Shui Ying laughed evilly. "Since that's the case, I'll go out of the city to see Miss first. I haven't seen her in a long time." Ziyu said. "Don't. You can't go see her now." Shui Ying hurriedly said. "Why can't I? Give me a reason. Otherwise, I'll leave the Yen residence right now to see the young lady." Ziyu threatened. This damned fox only said that he couldn't see the young miss now, but didn't tell him the reason. He was really worried to death. "I guess she's receiving some kind of punishment now." Shui Ying laughed in a very wretched manner. "But who would dare to punish Miss? Don't you want to live?" Ziyu heard Shui Ying's words and shouted angrily. Other than that demonic man, who else would dare to punish Shui? Snow Shadow said matter-of-factly. "But why did Commander Yi punish the young miss?" Ziyu said, a little puzzled. However, he was about to go crazy from how Shui Ying kept him in suspense. "Because Shui touched my butt." Shui Ying laughed smugly. "How is this possible?" Ziyu's face was filled with disbelief. "Of course not. Miss, that's hitting, not touching, okay?" Yu Qing said speechlessly. Miss clearly hit its butt, but why did it become touching in this fox's mouth? Or was this fox naturally lacking in love and was looking to be touched? That was a light touch. It was obviously a touch. Besides, you all know that it was just an act, so how could Shui really hit me? Since he didn't beat me up, he definitely touched me. Shui Ying said proudly. "You're beautiful. If you continue to say that the young miss touched your butt, guild leader Yi will not let you off." Yu Qing said with a smirk. "You're obviously touching me, but you won't let me say anything." Shui Ying pouted in dissatisfaction. "If you're not afraid of death, then just say it. We won't stop you." Ziyu also said with a smile. Now that they knew the reason, it was really not good for them to go and see the young miss. Otherwise, if they were treated as cannon fodder by the leader Yi, just thinking about it was terrifying. "All right, I won't say it. By the way, can you help me find a beggar or someone who's in a bad state in Yen City?" Shui Ying was no longer joking, and he said seriously. "Why do you want a beggar? It's not easy to find a beggar in the immortal realm. However, it shouldn't be a problem to find a beggar who's in a bad state. I'll go look for Second Master Yen later and ask for his help to look for her." Ziyu said after thinking for a while. You can go to him now. I need it urgently. Shui Ying urged impatiently. What do you want? Ziya's face was filled with curiosity. You'll know when the time comes, he. Snow Shadow kept him in suspense again. If you don't tell me, I won't care about this anymore. Ziyu said with a smile. Well, you're threatening me too. You're all bad guys. Alright, I'll just tell you. Shui Ying had no choice but to admit defeat. Although it was a fox, in terms of slyness, these guys were the real foxes. It admitted defeat. Shui Ying unwillingly pulled Ziya's head over and whispered a few words into his ear. Then, Ziyu revealed an evil smile and looked at Shui Ying with a very strange expression. Now you know. Hurry up and help me find her. After the whisper, Shui Ying urged again. Yes. Ziyu nodded, stood up from her seat, and walked towards the door. Not long after, Ziyu returned, followed by a man who was covered in dirt and mud. The man's face was full of beard, and it was impossible to tell his age. His eyes were chaotic, and his mind seemed to be a little unclear. Saliva was dripping from the corner of his mouth, and he was giggling. When Shui Ying saw the man that Ziyu had brought back, she was so shocked that she immediately stood up from her chair and walked around the man a few times. She even exclaimed in surprise, Where did you find this man? It's really of the highest quality. The Yen family's prison. I thought that this man was silly and should be easier to manipulate. That's why I specially chose him. Ziyu said with a slight smugness. Many of the prisoners locked up in the Yen clan's prison were extremely vicious and evil. However, he didn't pick any of them and only chose one who was not in his right mind. This was because his excuse to the Yen clan's second master was that he wanted to find someone to test the medicine. The Yen clan's second master thought that there was an alchemist among them, so he naturally cooperated with all his might. Those who could be locked up in a cell would definitely not be able to leave, so it was most suitable to use them as test subjects. After all, test subjects might be more painful than death. Chapter 1339, Foxes Don't Eat Fish, 5. Yes, it's good to be silly. Snow Shadow kept nodding its head. If it wasn't stupid, it would have to think of a way to make it stupid. However, it hoped that this man was not pretending to be stupid. Forget it, for safety's sake, I'd better give him some medicine. After Shui Ying made up his mind, he threw an elixir into the man's open mouth. The man thought it was food and instinctively swallowed the elixir. Seeing that the man was so cooperative, Shui Ying was very satisfied. After bidding Ziyu and Bai Xian farewell, they took the silly man and left the Yen family's main residence. When Shui Ying and his beast returned to the Hong family's estate, the head of the Hong family was excitedly instructing his subordinates on what to do the next day, which was to go out and find the fox that had left home early in the morning. Therefore, when he saw Shui Ying return, he pointed at Shui Ying as if he had seen a ghost and said, "Why are you back? Master Hong, do you really hope that I won't come back?" Shui Ying's face was filled with hidden bitterness as he spoke. The tears in his eyes seemed as if they would fall at any moment. "No, I didn't mean it that way. What I meant was, how could you run away from home just because you quarreled with Master? What if they were caught by the bad guys? Your master is very worried about you." The master of the Hong family quickly pulled back his words, and the cold sweat on his forehead dripped down silently. In fact, he was quite depressed because he had already made preparations to find this fox and had even made arrangements. However, this damn fox suddenly returned by itself. In this way, didn't everything he had done go to waste? It was his chance to show off. Just like that, it was destroyed by this damned fox. When the head of the Hong family thought of this, his heart was filled with hatred. Looking at the head of the Hong family gritting his teeth, Shui Ying was extremely happy. He couldn't help but mutter to himself, "Hee." This was only the beginning. What would make him vomit blood was yet to come. However, he did not know if a certain someone would cooperate. He was looking forward to it. At the same time, Leng Ruoxue and the demon who had heard Shui Ying's voice walked out of the tent. "Snow Shadow!" Leng Ruoxue called out softly. "Master!" Shui Ying's eyes were filled with tears as he looked at Leng Ruoxue with fear, but he did not dare to walk over. Seeing this, the master of the Hong family considerately advised, "Quickly go and beg for your master's forgiveness. She's been worried about you the whole night." "Yes." Shui Ying nodded obediently. Then, with small steps, he inched closer to Lung Ruox's side. He even stretched out his big furry head and leaned on Lung Ruox's shoulder, acting coquettishly, fully expressing the dependence of a beast pet on its master. "Master, I miss you so much," Shui Ying said gently. However, its coquettish and intimate actions made the evildoer extremely dissatisfied and secretly hated it. That damned fox, it was just an act and he actually dared to take advantage of Shui. Let's wait and see. The demon thought to himself and thought of thousands of ways to torture this fox to vent the hatred in his heart. Shui Ying, who was resting its head on Lung Ruox's shoulder, felt a cold gaze on its back. Its heart trembled, and it was so frightened that it quickly lifted its head from Lung Ruox's warm shoulder. It was so engrossed in its acting that it had forgotten that there was a big vinegar jar beside Shui. What should he do? Just as Snow Shadow was secretly on edge, Master Hong's timely voice helped him resolve some of the awkwardness. "Miss Lung, your beast pet has returned safely. You can rest assured now." The head of the Hong family forced a smile. "Yes, thank you for your concern, Master Hong," Lung Ruoxue said gratefully. She even touched Shui Ying's soft long fur, causing Shui Ying's heart to tremble in fear. "Don't touch me. Someone would be jealous." Lung Ruoxue looked at Shui Ying's timid little appearance and felt playful. She began to move her hands up and down Shui Ying. It felt really good. The evildoer beside him saw this and hated him in his heart. However, in front of outsiders, he could only endure it. "I'll deal with that fox later." Lung Ruoxue could feel the cold air around her getting heavier and heavier. She didn't dare to go too far and stopped when she was ahead. Shui Ying, who had been on tenterhooks, also slowly put down his little heart and looked at her with a face full of hidden bitterness, as if to say, "Didn't you just touch my butt? You don't have to do this to me." At this moment, Shui Ying wanted to cry but had no tears. He could only swallow the blood from his teeth. However, it kept praying in its heart, "Just ignore it. Ooh, just pretend it doesn't exist. Shui Ying, you're back so late, you must be hungry. Let's go. I'll go roast some meat for you." At this time, the evildoer said with a smile, "Roast meat? I'm not hungry. And I don't want to eat barbecued meat." When Shui Ying heard the word roasted meat, he was a little afraid. He said roasted meat, but could it be his own meat? It did not forget that this evil man had said more than once that he would roast it. Therefore, it would never dare to eat the meat that this man had roasted. It should be known that a jealous man was not only unreasonable, but he might even try to get rid of his love rival. Although it was not considered a love rival, in the eyes of this evil man, it was probably an enemy that could not be let go. "Shui, you've really hurt me. Why are you touching me for no reason?" Snow Shadow wailed in his heart. However, the demon did not allow him to refuse. He directly grabbed the thick fur behind his neck and dragged him away. He even specially brought him to the fire. "Sit down. Let's roast some meat," the demon said fiercely. After he finished speaking, he forcefully pulled Shui Ying to sit on the ground with him. "I'm not hungry, and I don't want to eat barbecued meat." Shui Ying lowered his head and said in a low voice, "No. If you're hungry, Shui, I will be heartbroken." The demon patted Snow Shadow's head and said worriedly, "You have to eat something. You've been out for an entire afternoon, and you probably haven't caught any prey. How pitiful. You've actually slimmed down." The head of the Hong family, who thought that he was very familiar with the situation around him, interjected with a concerned expression. Rolling his eyes at the head of the Hong family, Shui Ying's eyes were still looking at the evildoer with great vigilance. However, he was cursing in his heart. Which part of it had lost weight? It had only been an afternoon. Even if it had lost weight, it was impossible to tell so quickly. "Look at how much Master Hong cares about you. We all know that you've lost weight. You have to eat more and get chubby." The demon laughed. "What's the point of raising her white and fat? Do I fatten it up so that you can roast it and eat it? Woo, it didn't want to. It would rather be hungry than be fattened up to be slaughtered. Shui Ying howled in his heart. Seeing that Snow Shadow didn't say anything, the evildoer had no choice but to say to the Hong family head apologetically, Master Hong, I'm sorry. This little fox has been spoiled by Shui, and doesn't know her manners. I hope you don't mind. I want tea. I want tea. The head of the Hong family hurriedly waved his hand and couldn't help but sigh. That fox wasn't the only one who didn't know etiquette. You should be the ones who don't understand. Master Hong, let's sit together. The demon warmly invited. Seeing the abnormal enthusiasm of the evildoer, Shui Ying became more and more vigilant. What was this evildoer up to? This was too abnormal. All right, then I won't stand on ceremony. After the master of the Hong family finished speaking, he sat down next to Shui Ying. At this moment, the evildoer took out a few more fish from his storage ring and roasted them over the fire. The master of the Hong family even diligently helped to flip them over. The two of them cooperated tacitly, and after a while, a fish was roasted first. Eat. The demon handed the fish to Snow Shadow. I don't like to eat fish. Shui Ying looked at the fish, but he didn't dare to reach out his claws to take it. Woo, what if that demon wanted to mess with him and drug the fish? Was afraid. A picky eater is not a good child. The demon coaxed. Foxes don't eat fish. Snow Shadow reminded. Who said that? Our fox can eat anything, be good. Hurry up and eat. Don't be picky. The demon deliberately said with a straight face. Suddenly, the fish that Master Hong was roasting in his hands started to spark. Chapter 1340, Shameless, 1. The spark was so small that no one noticed it at all. However, the spark happened to float onto Shui Ying's body. In an instant, the small spark suddenly grew bigger and ignited in an instant. It flew rapidly on Shui Ying's body like a prairie fire. In the blink of an eye, most of the fur on Shui Ying's body was burned off. Arg! My fur! Shui Ying screamed and instinctively pounced on the master of the Hong family who was closest to it. The master of the Hong family was caught off guard and the two of them rolled on the ground. The flames on Shui Ying's body also set Master Hong's clothes on fire. When everyone saw this, they were dumbfounded for a moment. However, they quickly reacted and ran forward to help put out the flames on the two of them. Hearing Shui Ying's voice, Leng Ruoxue, who had already returned to her tent, ran out in a hurry. When she saw that Shui Ying's originally snow-white fur was now charred black, her heart ached. Woo! What beautiful and nice fur! But now, what a pity! When Leng Ruoxue saw Shui Ying sitting on the ground in a daze, she quickly walked over to it and asked with concern, Snow Shadow, are you all right? Are you hurt? Shui Ying didn't respond, but sank into his own thoughts. Shui Ying, say something. When Leng Ruoxue saw Shui Ying's state, she could not help but feel anxious. This big fox wouldn't take it too hard just because its fur was burnt, right? She couldn't help but let her thoughts run wild. Shui, don't worry. It's just a little bit of fur. I'll be fine. At this moment, the evildoer came forward and comforted the anxious Shui. How did this happen? Leng Ruoxue asked in confusion. Wasn't he supposed to be eating barbecued meat? Why did it become a roasted fox? Master Hong didn't do it on purpose. The sparks from the fish he grilled splashed on Shui Ying, so it caused the fire. Fortunately, it was put out in time, so they didn't suffer any serious injuries. The demon explained. Oh. Leng Ruoxue nodded, then looked at Master Hong, who was surrounded by the members of the Hong family. She walked over to him to express her concern. However, Master Hong had also suffered quite a shock, and he was in a daze. Ooh, my fur. My beautiful fur. Suddenly, everyone heard Shui Ying's sorrowful and agonized cries. Leng Ruoxue quickly returned to Shui Ying's side. Snow Shadow, you must calm down. The hair will grow back. Leng Ruoxue didn't know how to comfort Shui Ying anymore. Usually this fox only knew how to sleep and eat. It didn't seem to care much about its beauty. Why did he care so much about his fur being burnt? My fur. Shui Ying's eyes were filled with tears as he kept repeating this sentence. Seeing this, Leng Ruoxue could only order Yu Qing and Xiang to help bring it into the tent. Then she moved them into the bracelet. After entering the bangle, Leng Ruoxue fed Shui Ying a pill. In an instant, all the burnt fur on Shui Ying's body fell off and regrown. The new fur was thicker and thicker than before. It was also whiter and more beautiful. However, Snow Shadow was still thinking about the fur that had abandoned it. Shui Ying, the fur on your body has regrown, and you're even more beautiful now. Don't be sad anymore. Leng Ruoxue reminded. That body of fur has accompanied me for over 100 years. I have very deep feelings for it. Now it has left me just like that, sob. Shui Ying said with a sad expression. Why are you crying? Don't you shed your fur? That body of fur will abandon you sooner or later, but it's just ahead of schedule now, so there's nothing to be sad about. Besides, haven't your fur already grown out? Don't act pitiful. Yu Qing said unhappily. As a beastie, she really couldn't understand why Shui Ying would hurt his heart for a little bit of burnt fur. In fact, they would naturally grow a new body of fur after a period of time, and every time they shed fur, their defensive ability would also increase. Therefore, shedding fur was a good thing for them. It's different this time. You're mentally prepared for a normal shedding, but not this time. Shui Ying quibbled, his heart still silently mourning for the fur that had passed away. You can just treat it as shedding your fur in advance. The moon, I said disapprovingly. This was not a big deal at all. Shui Ying, aren't you fine now? Compared to you, the head of the Hong family seems to be in an even worse state. He didn't have thick fur to cover his body, so he was burnt. Xiang laughed. He only had himself to blame for that. Shui Ying said hatefully. If it wasn't for him creating the sparks, how could the fur on his body have been burnt? Although it had some suspicions that the evil man had done something, there was no evidence. Therefore, it could only put all the blame on the master of the Hong family. That's right, he asked for it. He's the one who harmed you, so we can't let him off. Xiang agreed. I won't let him go. Shui Ying said through gritted teeth. Snow Shadow, now that you're fine, you should rest early. Leng Ruoxue sighed softly and said to Shui Ying. After he finished speaking, he left Shui Ying's residence with Yu Qing and Xiang. Back at the purple bamboo house, the demon was sitting on a chair, waiting for Leng Ruoxue. Shui, is that fox all right? The demon said. Well, why don't you go and comfort it? Leng Ruoxue asked curiously. After such a thing had happened, why didn't the demon show himself? It was really too strange. It doesn't want to see me now. The demon laughed evilly. Leng Ruoxue didn't know what to say anymore. Could it be that this whole thing was planned by that demon? If that was the case, then wasn't it all because of her? She touched Shui Ying's fur, so the evildoer thought of a way to burn Shui Ying's fur. However, the evildoer would not do such a stupid thing because even if Shui Ying's fur was burned, it would immediately grow back after eating a pill. Wasn't that unnecessary? This matter has nothing to do with me, although I've also thought of burning its fur. The demon explained indifferently. Chapter 1341. Shameless. 2. I know you wouldn't do something so unnecessary, but you were the closest to them at that time. What happened? Leng Ruoxue asked in confusion. I can only say that this is purely a coincidence. The demon said without any sympathy. Although he had seen the small sparks floating from the grilled fish, he did not pay much attention to it. After all, this kind of situation often happened when he was grilling the fish. It was not a big deal at all. Who knew that the fur on Shui Ying's body was actually flammable? Master Hong didn't do anything? Leng Ruoxue's face was filled with suspicion. If he really did something, then I can only say that his acting is too good. However, I don't think he has that kind of intelligence. The demon said with a look of disdain. No matter what, Shui Ying has put everything on Master Hong. Leng Ruoxue said helplessly. In fact, she could already foresee the tragic future of the Hong family's head. Shui, I'll go see Shui Ying and ask him about it. The demon suddenly said. You want to see it now? Leng Ruoxue was speechless. It seemed like the evildoer had something to say to Shui Ying. Otherwise, why would he choose to go when they were all leaving? Yes, if I don't go, it will definitely suspect that something is related to me. I'm a righteous and upright person, so of course I have to go and talk about it. The demon laughed. Didn't you just say that it doesn't want to see you now? Leng Ruoxue's forehead was dripping with 2 drops of cold sweat. Was this a man's heart? Weren't you all here just now? It's just me and it, so it's convenient to talk. The demon chuckled. Could it be that we can't listen to your words? Leng Ruoxue was depressed. There was actually something between the evildoer and Shui Ying that they could not listen to. So, she had been excluded. This is a secret between men. The demon said with a mysterious smile. It's a secret between men and male beasts. Leng Ruoxue was speechless. Yes, I'm going. After saying that, the demon turned and left the purple bamboo house. When he arrived at the door of Shui Ying's room, the demon saw that the door was half closed, so he directly pushed the door open and walked in. Still sad. The demon looked at Snow Shadow, who was lying on the bed with her head lowered, and asked with a faint smile. When Shui Ying heard his familiar voice, he casually raised his head to look at the demon. Without saying anything, he lowered his head again. This new fur is pretty good. The demon saw that Shui Ying was not paying attention to him, so he walked to Shui Ying's side and praised him. What do you want to do? Don't you dare have any ideas about me. When Shui Ying heard the demon's words, he was so frightened that he quickly got up from the bed and looked at him with a vigilant expression. When did I have any ideas about you? If I really wanted your hair, I wouldn't have let it grow back. The demon laughed evilly. Then what happened before? Snow Shadow looked at the demon suspiciously. In fact, it had always felt that this damn demon was the most suspicious, but unfortunately, it had no evidence. What happened before was just an accident. The demon said indifferently. Really? Then why do you want me to eat grilled fish? If you didn't want me to eat the grilled fish, this wouldn't have happened. Shui Ying spoke out his remaining suspicion as he stared into the demon's eyes. In front of outsiders, of course I have to show you my concern and consideration. Otherwise, the Hong family will think that I can't tolerate a fox. The demon chuckled. Do you think he'll believe you? Do you really care about what others think? When Snow Shadow heard the demon's words, not only did his suspicions not decrease, it became even more serious. It's up to you to believe it or not. In fact, I was just playing along with your act. In the eyes of Master Hong, I'm just a useless man with no power or influence. The demon said helplessly. You really didn't want to burn my fur? Snow Shadow continued to ask. I've really thought about it, but if I do it, I don't intend to let them grow back. Moreover, compared to burning off your hair, I'm more inclined to beat you up. The demon said honestly. Everyone knew that Shui liked small animals, and he also knew very well that in Shui's eyes, Shui Ying was no different from her other beasts. So, out of love for the house, he let go of the fur on Shui Ying's body. Shui Ying was speechless, and his heart was filled with depression. Ooh, this man was too cruel. But this was what he should do. At this moment, it completely believed that the previous incident had nothing to do with this demonic man. In fact, even if it had something to do with him, it would not dare to do anything to this demonic man, because it was not his opponent at all. If they really fought, Shui, that girl who would forget her friends for a woman, would definitely not stand on its side. So, a smart fox would not do anything stupid. Let's have a fight. The demon requested as he looked at the depressed Snow Shadow. I'm an injured and sick fox. I can't fight with you. Snow Shadow refused. So, it wasn't that stupid, okay? I don't want to be abused. Where are you hurt? Didn't the fur regrow? The demon pretended to be puzzled. Internal injuries. I'm still suffering from internal injuries. Snow Shadow said in a hurry. Oh, but Shui's pill can heal all internal and external injuries in an instant. Could it be that her medicine has expired, so you only grew hair but not your internal injuries? The demon was suspicious. It's not that I didn't, I'm not fully recovered. I'm too seriously injured, and I won't be able to recover in a short time. If you want to fight, you can go find someone else. The head of the Hong family is not bad, his body is very strong, he can be a meat cushion. Snow Shadow suggested. He doesn't feel as good as you. After the demon finished speaking, he even reached out and touched the snow-white fur on Shui Ying's body, causing Shui Ying's little heart to tremble in fear. I don't feel good with my hands. Don't touch it anymore. If you want to touch it, go touch Shui. Snow Shadow's eyes were filled with tears as it said pitifully. It was so afraid of this man. The pressure it was under was too great. How could it be like this? If it didn't feel good, would Shui like to touch you so much? The demon said with a smile that was not a smile, and the hand that was stroking the fur on Shui Ying's body unconsciously increased its strength. Chapter 1342, Shameless, 3. Wu? It hurts. Gentle. The fur on Shui Ying's body was in pain from being pulled, and his heart kept on trembling. A jealous man was definitely not to be provoked. In fact, he was really innocent. I also like this fur. If it's made into clothes, it'll be very beautiful. The demon muttered to himself. I was wrong. In the future, when I see Shui, I'll stay 3 meters away from him. Shui Ying begged for mercy. No. People will think I'm petty. The demon rejected. My lord, what do you want me to do? Wu, Shui Ying said gloomily. When Shui got close to it, the man was jealous. It said to stay 3 meters away from Shui, but the man didn't agree. What should I do to make the man satisfied? It was really hard on the dead fox. You can't bully a cute little animal like me like this, okay? Besides, it didn't think that the man in front of it would care about what others thought. He clearly wanted to give it serious psychological pressure. This was his goal. Just keep your distance. Don't be too deliberate. Otherwise, if Shui sees through you, I won't let you off. The demon thought for a while and said, actually, he was also quite conflicted. He wanted this fox to get as far away as possible, but he was also afraid that Shui would be unhappy. He was also in a difficult position. Snow Shadow nodded vigorously. Although it did not know what it meant to keep an appropriate distance, for the sake of its beautiful fur, it had to agree first. That's a good girl. The evildoer nodded his head in satisfaction and did not mention fighting with Shui Ying anymore. After he finished speaking, he stood up and left Shui Ying's room. After the demon left, Shui Ying heaved a long sigh of relief, and his heart slowly calmed down. Wu, what a terrifying man. In the future, he would have to stay far away from them, Shui Ying thought to himself. However, that was just its own thoughts. Even though it was a good idea, it was extremely difficult to execute it. Unless it no longer hung out with Lung Ruoxue and the others, it would not be able to get rid of them. Late at night, Lung Ruoxue was woken up by Qingju. Qingju, what's the matter now? Lung Ruoxue, who was sleeping soundly, opened her eyes unwillingly and asked. Recently, Qingju seemed to have developed a habit of waking her up in the middle of the night. So, she really did not like this habit. Sister, there's a good show to watch. Qingju laughed evilly. His adorable face was still filled with a wretched smile. What good show? Lung Ruoxue's face was filled with question marks. Big sister, just follow me. Qingju smiled mysteriously, turned around, and left. Lung Ruoxue and the demon could only stand up and follow after them. They followed Qingju to the light screen. At this moment, most of the beasts were in closed-door cultivation. Hence, only a small number of beasts were gathered here. Lung Ruoxue's curiosity was piqued when she saw them discussing among themselves. She raised her head and looked into the light screen, only to see 2 people appear on it. One of them was a dirty man with unkempt hair and a dirty face. His clothes were torn and tattered, and his face was covered with a beard. The other was actually the eldest miss of the Hong family, Hong Lian. What was this situation? Could it be that Hong Lian's brain wasn't working well and he really liked beggars? Lung Ruox's heart was filled with question marks. At this moment, Hong Lian's gentle voice entered their ears. Young master, from the first day I saw you, I fell in love with you. In the past, I've always thought that the fifth young master of the Yen family was the one in my heart. However, after seeing you, I finally know what a real man is. I was short-sighted in the past, but it's a good thing he rejected me. Otherwise, how would I have the opportunity to meet you? As Hong Lian spoke, his face was filled with shyness. When Lung Ruoxue, who was in the bracelet, heard Hong Lian's words, her forehead was filled with black lines. It seemed that Hong Lian had treated that silly beggar as a demon. Seeing this situation, she guessed that Xue Ying was up to something again. However, she was very curious. Where did Xue Ying find this man? She was really of the highest quality. Most importantly, this man was clearly a fool. Thus, no matter what Hong Lian said, no matter how moving or how affectionate Hong Lian's words were, the other party was unable to respond. At the thought of this, Lung Ruoxue turned her gaze to Snow Shadow. However, she only looked at it and did not say anything. We brought this man back from Yen City. Snow Shadow took the initiative to confess. Oh. Lung Ruoxue nodded and thought to herself, this man should have been invisible when he was brought back by Xue Ying and the rest. That's why I didn't notice his existence. In addition, Xue Ying had an accident earlier on, so I didn't have the chance to find out about Yan Cheng. As for why Hong Lian would treat this silly beggar as a demon, it's probably the work of Hua. Right now, Hua was practically in cahoots with Xue Ying. How could he hide such a thing from her, his master? Thinking about this, Lung Ruoxue turned her gaze unhappily towards Hua. Master, I wanted to give you a surprise. Hua sensed her master's thoughts and immediately wrapped her wrist around her to please her. Oh, is there anything else you're not telling me? Tell me as soon as possible. Lung Ruoxue said with a straight face on purpose. There's nothing else. No more. Hua shook her little head and quickly said, What about you, Snow Shadow? Lung Ruoxue raised her beautiful eyes and asked. Xue, didn't you see it? When we went to Yen City, besides meeting Ziyu, we also brought back this fool. Xue Ying saw Lung Ruoxue's unfriendly gaze and hurriedly explained. Where did you find this guy? Lung Ruoxue asked again. It was Ziyu who helped me find the Yen clan's prison. Xue Ying said honestly. You guys are really bad. Lung Ruoxue said helplessly. Actually, she didn't mind the people around her using such methods to deal with their enemies. However, she didn't intend to let them know her thoughts, lest they become too arrogant and complacent. In reality, even though Lung Ruoxue pretended to be angry, Xue Ying and the other beasts knew that Lung Ruoxue would not be angry over such a matter. After all, she was just an outsider that they hated and wanted to take advantage of them. Xue, we're doing this for you. Xue Ying said with a cheeky smile. Chapter 1343, Shameless, 4. Yup. Master, we're doing this for you. That woman is too annoying, we should teach her a lesson. Hui said, Oh my God. Not suitable for children. I didn't see anything. Suddenly, Qingju's scream was heard and everyone's eyes were instantly attracted to him. At this moment, in the screen of light, the delicate and lovely Hong Lian had already taken off half of her clothes. She was hesitating and looking at the dazed man with affection. The man's eyes were in a daze. He did not have any reaction when he saw such an act of beauty. He just stood there without moving. When Hong Lian saw this, she was secretly angry, but she was also somewhat unwilling to let go of this opportunity that she had found with great difficulty. Thus, she directly pushed the evildoer in front of her to the ground and did not hesitate to press on him. Lung Ruoxue, the rest, and Beastie were all speechless when they saw this scene. Why was this woman so thirsty? He actually forced himself on the beggar, the tyrant. It was wrong. In Hong Lian's heart, that person was not a beggar, but the evildoer handsome man that she had been longing for. When she thought of this, Lung Ruoxue and all the beasties turned their gazes towards the evildoer. The slightly emotional beastie's eyes were filled with sympathy. Why are you all looking at me? "I'm not that person." The evildoer received their sympathetic gazes, and the anger in his heart surged up. He was so angry. Why were they looking at him like that? The one who should be pitied was that foolish beggar, okay? Calm down, we didn't say that person was you. Lung Ruoshua looked at the evildoer who was clearly showing signs of going berserk and hurriedly consoled him. However, it would have been better if she did not say anything. The moment she said that, the evildoer's heart became even more depressed. Shweher. The demon gritted his teeth and pulled Lung Ruoshua into his arms. He hugged her tightly to vent the anger in his heart. However, his eyes were glaring fiercely at Shueying, and his eyes that were spewing fire were burning with anger. "This is all your fault. What does it have to do with me?" Receiving the evil demon's venomous gaze, Shueying felt extremely aggrieved. Although it was the one who found the beggar, it did not expect Hong Lian to be so bold and dare to use force. In fact, according to its original plan, when a certain young lady of the Hong family was confessing her feelings to the beggar, it was coincidentally discovered by the Hong family. Therefore, it was cleared of the suspicion of the evil man. Therefore, this time, it only let the bewilderment cast an illusion on the Hong sisters, while the other Hong family members were clear-headed. In this way, they had no way to frame the evil man. However, it did not expect that not only did this Hong Lian not act according to its script, but she even added more scenes without permission. How preposterous! Wah! This woman is too shameless. I can't stand it anymore. Isn't she bullying the helpless and vulnerable group? Sister, let's quickly go and uphold justice. Just as Shueying was mumbling softly in a wronged manner, Qingju's exaggerated voice sounded again. Although he said that he could not watch it anymore, his eyes were still fixed on the light screen excitedly. It was obvious that he was very interested in this live version of the passionate show. When Lung Ruoshua heard Qingju's words, she left the evildoer's embrace and came to Qingju's side. She covered his eyes with her hands and said helplessly, "Who said it's not suitable for children? You're not allowed to look anymore." She did not want Qingju to be led astray by such improper behavior. "I'm not a child." Qingju pulled Lung Ruox's hand down and said helplessly. In reality, he had no idea how many years he had lived. Even though he looked like a child now, he was no longer one. "Then who is it?" Lung Ruoshua raised her brows and asked indifferently. "They." Qingju pointed at Xiao Xiao and Yuan Yuan, who were not far away from him. Those two little fellows were the real children. Ah. Lung Ruoshua saw that Qingju's words made sense, so she walked over and picked up the two little fellows who were looking at the light screen with great interest. She handed them over to their mother and instructed Yu Qing and Xiang to bring them back to their room. "Sister, I'm not a child. I want to see it. I don't want to leave." Xiao Xiao pleaded coyly but was ignored by Lung Ruoshua. "Bring them back to the room." Lung Ruoshua ordered. Yes. The two of them did not dare to disobey Lung Ruox's orders. Furthermore, they also felt that the scene playing out on the screen was not suitable for these two little fellows. Thus, they ignored the two little things' desperate struggle and forcefully brought them back to their room. After sending the two little fellows back, Yu Qing and Xiang returned. "Miss, what should we do now?" Yu Qing asked as she looked at the screen. "Of course we're going out to watch a good show," Lung Ruoshua said after some thought. Right now, everything on the screen was at its most intense stage. It would be the perfect time to go out. "Then let's go out." Yu Jing's face was filled with excitement. "Yes." Lung Ruoshua nodded. With a thought, she brought the demon, Yu Qing, Shueying, and Xiang out of the bracelet. After leaving the bracelet, Lung Ruoshua pretended to be very hungry and started to prepare food. When Shueying saw the fire, he reflexively hid far away. Lung Ruoshua could not help but laugh when she saw this. It seemed that what happened last time had given it a big scare. "Shueying, come over and sit. What happened before was just an accident. Besides, it doesn't matter even if your fur is burned off. I have pills that can help you." Lung Ruoshua reminded him with an evil smile. "I don't want to. I can just sit here." Shuang had been burned by the fire and was now extremely afraid of fire. Although it knew that it would be completely fine as long as it ate a pill, it was not willing to be burned by fire for no reason. All right then. Seeing this, Leng Ruoxue did not force him. She then focused on the food in her hands. Very quickly, the alluring aroma of the food wafted around the Hong family's campsite. Not long after, many people from the Hong family were lured out by the fragrance. Although most of them had already fallen asleep, the fragrance that drifted into their noses made them sleep very uneasily. After waking up, they followed the smell of the fragrance and walked out of their tents. The guards that the Hong family had arranged to keep watch at night were already drooling all over the ground. Chapter 1344, Shameless, 5. Previously, the food that Leng Ruoxue and the rest had eaten was all processed by green vessel in the bracelet. Hence, they did not realize how delicious the food was. However, in the middle of the night, in the dead of the night, how could they fall asleep when they were able to make such an alluring and fragrant food? Even the injured master of the Hong family was attracted by the delicious food. Seeing that almost everyone from the Hong family had come out, Leng Ruoxue nodded her head in satisfaction. Then she gave the others a look. Everyone acted as if nothing had happened and started eating as if no one was around. Miss Leng, why are you guys having dinner at this time? The head of the Hong family saw that the other party didn't notice them and could only take the initiative to speak. Master Hong, why did you come out? How's your injury? Leng Ruoxue saw Master Hong standing in front of her and asked with concern, as if she had just seen him. We were all attracted by the smell of your food. My injuries are nothing serious. The master of the Hong family chuckled, but his eyes were fixed on the food in Leng Ruoxue's hands. Seeing this, Leng Ruoxue chuckled as she passed the food in her hands over and said, Master Hong must be hungry. Let's have some together. Then I won't be polite. After the master of the Hong family finished speaking, he sat down on the empty space around them. Leng Ruoxue and the rest did not prepare much food, so he naturally would not be so insensible as to ask the other members of the Hong family to try it. Thus, the Hong family members could only watch him eat. Just as he took a bite, Master Hong said in shock, Miss Leng, how did you handle this meat? It's also roasted meat, but why is the one you made so fragrant? The meat really melted in his mouth, leaving an endless aftertaste. Master Hong, this is a secret. Please forgive me for not being able to tell you. Leng Ruoxue said apologetically. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have asked. The head of the Hong family hurriedly said. After that, his gaze unintentionally landed on Shuiying, who was hiding in a corner in the distance. He saw that the white fur on Shuiying's body was the same as usual, and he asked curiously, what kind of medicinal pill did young Miss Leng give that fox to eat? How come its fur is growing so fast? It's just an ordinary healing pill. Leng Ruoxue said with a smile. How can an ordinary healing pill have such a miraculous effect? The head of the Hong family had a look of disbelief. Isn't it normal for its fur to grow so quickly with the help of ordinary pills and the Fox clan's secret technique? Leng Ruoxue replied calmly. PLs read on Ebizero's Nov L. COMIC. Hearing the word, secret technique, the head of the Hong family couldn't help but believe it. After all, he wasn't a beastie, and it was impossible for him to know what kind of secret techniques beastie had. In addition, since it was a secret technique, it was naturally impossible for him to tell anyone. Moreover, it would be useless even if he told anyone. It was impossible for humans to cultivate beastie's secret technique. Just as Master Hong, Leng Ruoxue, and the rest were eating and chatting, a shrill scream suddenly rang out. It was clearly a man's scream. When they heard this voice, Leng Ruoxue and the rest looked at each other in unison. Then she turned to look at Master Hong and said, Master Hong, what's that sound? Miss Leng, don't be afraid. They'll send someone to investigate. After the master of the Hong family finished speaking, he summoned two subordinates and ordered them to go and investigate. Not long after, the subordinates returned. However, the two of them were mumbling and did not know how to start. Even in the night, It could be seen that their faces were red as if they had been roasted by fire. What's wrong? Didn't you guys notice anything? The head of the Hong family saw his subordinate hesitating and asked angrily. From the sound of it, it shouldn't be far from here. Could they not even handle such a small matter? When the two subordinates heard their family head's words, they didn't know how to answer. However, their behavior made the Hong family head a little unhappy. These two subordinates had always been quite clever, so he had specially sent them to see what was going on. Who knew that these two people would not give him face, really infuriating him to death. At this moment he still didn't know that it wasn't that his two subordinates didn't want to say it, but that they didn't dare to. After all, this would really damage the Hong family's reputation. Moreover, there were outsiders here. Did you guys notice anything? Hurry up and report the truth. Seeing that his subordinate was still silent and Lung Ruoxue was looking at him expectantly, the anger in his heart slowly rose. Master, it's the young lady. The two subordinates looked at each other and said unwillingly. This was what the family head had forced them to say. What's wrong, miss? The head of the Hong family was full of question marks. You'll know when you see it for yourself. The two subordinates said in unison. Master Hong, since they said so, I'm afraid there's something wrong. Why don't we go and take a look personally? At this moment, Lung Ruoxue reminded him with a face full of concern. Yes. Master Hong nodded and stood up first. He then walked towards the direction of the voice. Lung Ruoxue and the rest of the Hong family followed behind him curiously. As they walked, everyone heard a woman's moans. The Hong family members were shocked, and a bad feeling rose in their hearts. When the people from the Hong family saw the disgusting scene, they instinctively wanted to block Lung Ruoxue and the others. Unfortunately, they were a step too slow. Lung Ruoxue and the others had already seen the scene not far away. At the same time, another group of people happened to walk over from the opposite direction. They also saw the unsightly scene. The things in this world were really full of coincidences. Lung Ruoxue was very sure that the sudden appearance of this group of people was not planned by anyone. They had really just run into each other by chance. However, if such a scene was seen by outsiders like them, the Hong family would probably fly into a rage. As expected, just as Lung Ruoxue had this thought, an elder from the Hong family questioned her with a livid expression. Who are you people? What's your purpose for coming here in the middle of the night? The leader of the group was a young man who was as gentle as jade. Even though the young man was not wearing any luxurious clothes, he had a handsome face and an extraordinary aura. There was even a faint smile on his face. Even though he only had the strength of an early-stage true god, Lung Ruoxue believed that this man was definitely not as gentle as he appeared to be. We're a team of adventurers. We just happened to pass by. What can I do for you? The young man said with a faint smile, but a hint of mockery flashed through his dark eyes. Since that's the case, then you guys can stay here. The elder said coldly. Killing intent instantly rose in his heart. Apart from those from the Hong clan, he couldn't let anyone off today. Stay here? Can I treat this as an invitation? The young man played dumb. Of course. The elder sneered. At this time, Hong Lian, who was carrying out some kind of exercise, gradually woke up after the matter was over. When she saw that there were many people not far away from her, she panicked and quickly found clothes to wear. However, looking around, other than people, there was no shadow of clothes at all. Father! Hong Lian called out softly in fear. But several crisp sounds rang out. The Hong family head was so angry that he directly slapped Hong Lian a few times. Immediately, Hong Lian felt dizzy and blood flowed down from the corner of her mouth. When the various elders of the Hong family saw this, they hurriedly stepped forward to stop it. Their intention was naturally not to feel sorry for Hong Lian being beaten up. Instead, they felt that with outsiders present, it was best to handle this matter in a low-profile manner. They also did not want those people to know what relationship Hong Lian had with their Hong family. Otherwise, the reputation of the Hong family would be destroyed. However, they had underestimated the anger of the Hong family head. At this moment, the head of the Hong family's heart was filled with anger, especially when he saw that the man who was pressed down by his daughter and forced onto her was actually a beggar with unkempt hair and a dirty face. He could not suppress the anger in his heart at all. Although he did not love his daughter as much as Exen, he had always thought that his daughter was sensible. Who knew that this scheming daughter would actually do such a shameless thing? At this moment, he even had the thought of killing Hong Lian. Chapter 1345. The Scheme of Master Hong. 1. Since she was young, Hong Lian had never seen her father so angry before. Seeing her father's anger, she was a little afraid. However, she did not think that she had done anything wrong. After all, she did this for her own happiness. Although her actions would bring shame to the Hong family and disappoint her father, she did not regret it. After having an intimate relationship with the man she liked, in the future, that demon-like man could forget about getting rid of her. At this moment, although Hong Lian was beaten, as long as she thought that she was already the woman of the man she liked, her heart would feel as sweet as honey. "You shameless thing, I'll just beat you to death." The head of the Hong family roared in exasperation. The slap on his hand was even louder. In just a moment, half of Hong Lian's face was swollen. "Father, I'm doing this for my own happiness." Hong Lian held back her tears and argued. At this moment, she was not wearing a single piece of clothing. However, no one in the Hong family was in the mood to let her put on her clothes first. Everyone in the Hong family wished that they did not know Hong Lian. Meanwhile, those anxious elders were trying their best to persuade the Hong family head. Lung Rufa watched this scene coldly from the side and laughed to himself. Hong Lian's reputation was completely ruined now. However, who could he blame? If it wasn't for her evil intentions, how could Shui Ying have schemed against her? To put it bluntly, people couldn't have bad intentions, otherwise, the one who would suffer would only be herself. However, she had some sympathy for the foolish beggar who was being pressed down by Hong Lian. She did not expect that Hong Lian had the ability to torture people because the beggar's body was full of scratch marks. It was obvious that this was Hong Lian's work. The team that had suddenly descended from the sky was also watching coldly. The young man in the lead sneered as he looked at the dirty scene not far away. No wonder the other party was so angry after seeing them. It seemed that they had encountered something they shouldn't have seen and the other party wanted to kill them to silence them. However, they couldn't be blamed for this matter. How could they have known that someone would do such an unscrupulous thing in public? To be honest, they could also be considered victims. After all, seeing such a thing would pollute their eyes. He wondered if they should charge the other party some money to calm them down. However, the other party obviously couldn't care about the existence of outsiders like them. If he didn't want to be killed, this was definitely a good opportunity to sneak away. However, he didn't want to leave just like this. "You still have the face to say that?" Hearing Hong Lian's words, the head of the Hong family became even angrier. In his heart, he kept cursing, "Fuck." If he had known that his daughter would do such a shameful thing, he would have strangled her to death when she was young, so that she wouldn't embarrass him when she grew up. Unfortunately, it was all too late. "Father, what's wrong with me fighting for my own happiness?" Hong Lian said again. Up until now, she did not think she was wrong. She felt that she was only good at grasping opportunities, so why did her father not understand her? Fight? Even if you want to fight for him, you should at least fight for a decent man. Look at what kind of man you've found yourself. The master of the Hong family roared in anger. He was so angry that he was about to vomit blood. "Of course he's the man I like." Hong Lian lowered his head to look at the man beneath him and said with a shy expression, "You, the man you like is a fool? He's a foolish beggar." The head of the Hong family choked and almost fainted from anger. He couldn't figure it out. Didn't his daughter like that evil man? Why would she fall in love with a beggar? "Father, what nonsense are you spouting? How could the man I like be a stupid beggar? He's so handsome, his looks and temperament are unparalleled. Don't you slander the man I like." Hong Lian shouted angrily. She did not expect that even in this state, her father would still despise the man she liked. Why was it that her sister would do anything for that man while she would fight for her own happiness? Her father was so angry. He was too biased. She couldn't help but complain in her heart, and the hatred in her heart for her father gradually deepened. Are you blind? The head of the Hong family felt his head throb. He didn't know what to say. If the man under Hong Lian was really that evil man, he might not be so angry. However, it wasn't him. It was a dirty beggar. How could he not be angry? P.L.S. read on Ebiziro's novel. See, father. I'm just in love with a man, how can you say that about me? Why can my sister like him, but I can t? Hong Lian accused. Sister. No matter how much you like him, you can't do such a thing behind my back. You know that I like him too. Hong Exen saw that his sister had dragged him into this, and couldn't help but speak with jealousy. She had admired that godlike man for a long time, but she never had the chance to make a move. She didn't expect that her sister would beat her to it today. How could she not be angry? However, her father was furious because of her sister's matter, so even if she was very jealous now, she didn't dare to say anything. Who knew that her sister would lead the conversation to her? As a result, she couldn't keep her eyes closed anymore. Of course I know that you like him too, but I'm already his now, so you should give up. Hong Lian said with a smug look. Coupled with her swollen face from being beaten by the Hong family head, her smugness at this moment appeared exceptionally sinister. I won't give up and he won't want you. Don't forget, he still had a country-toppling beauty by his side. Compared to that woman, we're nothing. Hong Xian reminded her. Her heart was filled with hatred. If she hated Lung Ruoxue out of jealousy, then she hated her own sister to the core. However, although she was not as smart as her sister, she also knew that her sister would not easily get her way. Even if she was already in an intimate relationship with that man, he might not want her. So what? Now that I'm his woman, how can he not be responsible for me? Hong Lian said disapprovingly. In her heart, becoming the woman of the man she fancied was already set in stone. Therefore, her mood also relaxed a lot. Although her actions made her father very angry, what could her father do even if he was angry? I can't kill her. Moreover, what she had done was good for her father. Therefore, she was very confident that her father was only angry because he was embarrassed. Chapter 1346, The Scheme of Master Hong 2. You're really too shameless. Hong Exen was so angry that he was trembling and stammering. Little sister, why do you have to say that about me? If you were me, you would definitely do the same. Hong Lian laughed as he understood. Hong Exen couldn't say a complete sentence because she was very clear that what her sister said was the truth. Yes. If she had the chance, she would also offer herself without hesitation like her sister. Unfortunately, she didn't get such an opportunity. All of you shut up. The master of the Hong family heard the conversation between his two daughters, and the anger in his heart rose. Never in his dreams did he expect that these two daughters would actually quarrel so much over a beggar that their faces and ears turned red. What kind of situation was this? Could it be that they had lost their minds because they couldn't get that devilish man? At this moment, he was completely unaware that his two daughters had planted an illusion technique, which was why they had thought that the beggar was the man they liked. In fact, he could not be blamed for this, because things like illusions were extremely rare in the divine realm. They were almost something that only existed in legends. Father, you have to stand up for me. I was the one who fell in love with him first, but he was snatched away by my sister. Hong Exen cried like a pear blossom bathed in rain, his face full of grievance. Shut up. Take a good look at who the man underground is. The head of the Hong family said angrily. It was one thing for a daughter to like a beggar, but why were two daughters interested in the same beggar? This was too strange. The man we like, of course. Hong Lian and Hong Xian said in unison. Then they glared at each other. When Lung Ruoxue saw this, she gently touched the little snake that was wrapped around her wrist. Understanding the situation, she dispelled the illusion on the two sisters without a sound. Open your eyes wide and see clearly. The head of the Hong family roared furiously. When Hong Lian and Hong Xen heard the thunderous roar of the Hong family's master, they were both shocked and subconsciously looked down at the ground. Although the night was hazy and the face of the man on the ground was not very clear, anyone with eyes could tell that the man on the ground was definitely not a normal man. At this moment, the moonlight suddenly hit the man's face and the face of the man on the ground became extremely clear. When the two saw it, they were instantly shocked. Hong Lian couldn't stand this stimulation and directly fainted. Seeing Hong Xin's pale face and Hong Lian fainting, the head of the Hong family said with disappointment, "Is this the man you like? Even if you can't get the man you want, you can't just find a beggar. Our Hong family's face has been completely thrown away by you. Father, this has nothing to do with me. I thought. Hong's heart trembled. He didn't know what to say. Did his sister really give up on herself? However, she felt that it was more likely that her sister had mistaken him for someone else. After all, with her sister's pride, she would never fall in love with a beggar. Patriarch, please calm your anger. At this moment, an elder of the Hong family gathered his courage and walked up to persuade him. At the same time, he secretly gave a look to the Hong family to have someone take away the unconscious Hong Lian. Can I rest? The head of the Hong family glared angrily at the elder who had advised him. He even had the thought of killing Hong Lian now, so how could he calm his anger? P.L.S. read on AB0's Nov.L. Sium, Master, there are outsiders here. The elder reminded in a soft voice. Although they wanted to do their best to cover up this scandal of the Hong family, it was obvious that they could no longer hide it. The family head's fury earlier had already let those uninvited guests know the truth of the matter. This was really terrible. The master was really not calm. In the elder's heart, he felt that if the family head didn't make a move just now, or even pretended not to know this daughter, or directly cut off this daughter who had tarnished the reputation of the Hong family, it would be better than the current outcome. Therefore, he also blamed the family head for being reckless and not considering the big picture. However, things had already come to this point. Even if they were depressed, it had already become a reality. Therefore, the only thing they could do now was to control the situation to the smallest extent, which was to not let this matter spread out. And the best way was to kill everyone present who knew the truth. Of course, this was only limited to people outside the Hong family. Hearing the elder's words, the master of the Hong family subconsciously turned towards Leng Ruoxue and the rest. Then, he looked at the group that had suddenly descended from the sky. His heart was in turmoil. He understood the elder's intention and knew that killing them was the best way to prevent this matter from being spread. However, to be honest, he was very reluctant to kill Leng Ruoxue. Therefore, the best way was to make Leng Ruoxue a member of the Hong family. She naturally wouldn't reveal her family's dirty secrets to anyone. As for the others, it didn't matter if she killed them. At the thought of this, he made up his mind. Miss, the Hong family wouldn't be thinking of killing us, right? Yuqing whispered as she felt the Hong family head's dark gaze. They do have that idea, but they won't do anything to us for the time being. After all, their target is the Yen clan. Compared to the Yen clan, we are nothing. Leng Ruoxue said. If the Hong family wanted to silence them, they would have done so by now. However, the fact that they didn't make a move meant that they still had their reservations. Or rather, the Hong family didn't even take them seriously. At the thought of this, Leng Ruoxue's beautiful eyes turned towards the young man's direction. Coincidentally, the young man was also looking in their direction. It was obvious that they had seen through the Hong family's thoughts. The young man sized Leng Ruoxue up, and a look of surprise flashed across his eyes. Following that, he looked at the man beside Leng Ruoxue and praised him in his heart. What a handsome man! Originally, he was still very confident in his own appearance. However, the man not far away made him feel a deep sense of inferiority. In front of that man, he actually felt so small. This was really too unbelievable. Moreover, if he didn't guess wrong, the man that the sisters liked should be him, right? He was really a toad lusting after a swan's flesh. How could such a man take a fancy to that pair of sisters? He and the woman beside him were a perfect match. Chapter 1347, Master Hong's Scheme, 3. At this moment, the master of the Hong family walked in front of Leng Ruoxue and the rest and said, "Miss Leng, I'm sorry that such a thing happened. It's getting late, you should rest early." The head of the Hong family was very considerate. An elder from the Hong family walked up to the young man and said with a kind expression, "This young master, it's already very late, and it's not safe to walk on the road at night. Why don't we set up camp here? There's more than enough space for you guys." Although the Hong family elder spoke in a negotiating tone, the meaning behind his words did not allow anyone to refuse. The young man was well aware of this. If he refused the other party's good intentions, the other party would probably attack them now. "Thank you for your kind offer. Well, accept your invitation then." The young man chuckled. His understanding performance made the Hong family elder extremely satisfied. Following that, Leng Ruoxue's group, the people from the Hong family, and the team led by the young man returned to the Hong family's encampment. As for the beggar who was not in his right mind, he was naturally brought back by the Hong family. They would definitely not let this foolish man go. After returning to the Hong family's encampment, the young man ordered his subordinates to set up the tent. However, they did not rest immediately. Instead, they gathered around the fire and started to prepare food. "Young master, they're clearly up to no good by leaving us here," a middle-aged man beside the young man said in a low voice. "I know," the young man nodded and said indifferently. In fact, the reason why he was willing to stay was only because he wanted to join in the fun. After all, the recent days were quite boring. It was rare for fun to take the initiative to come to his door, so it would be a waste not to take it. "Young master, what do you think is going on? Why would the two young ladies of their family be jealous of a beggar? It's so embarrassing," the middle-aged man asked in disbelief. "Uncle Zhong, how come you're so gossipy?" The young man laughed. Although he didn't know why the sisters mistook him for someone else, since it had already happened, there was no need to get to the bottom of it. After all, this kind of thing could not be explained. Those sisters must have lost their minds. Otherwise, how could they mistake the man they like? At this moment, someone beside him spoke. "What crazy? I think it's better to settle for the second best. If you can't get the best, then you'll find the worst." "That's definitely the case," another person analyzed, and his remarks made the young man and the others not know whether to laugh or cry. The young man and the rest sat by the fire, eating and chatting. At this moment, Leng Ruoxue and the rest had already returned to the bracelet. When Qing Ju saw them, he immediately ran over and said with a gossipy look, "Sister, where did the other team come from? Pls read on AB0's Nov L. Com, I don't know either." Leng Ruoxue said helplessly. "Oh, big sister, you guys have to be careful. The Hong family already has the intention to kill you all. However, the person that the head of the Hong family wants to kill is obviously not you." Qing Ju laughed evilly. "Are you trying to say that the person he wants to kill is me?" The demon raised his eyes and asked after hearing Qing Ju's words. He won't kill you, he's still counting on you to be his son-in-law." Qing Ju laughed out loud. "Oh really? It seems that I have to kill him first." The demon said coldly. If he wanted him to be his son-in-law, it meant that the old man wanted Shui. Since that was the case, he would definitely not let that old thing off. "It won't be fun if I kill him," Qing Ju reminded. "Then let's keep him for now. He can't escape from my hands anyway." The demon understood what Qing Ju meant and said, "Yes, but I'm afraid he doesn't have the mood to find trouble with the Yen family now." Qing Ju said with a frown. His own daughter had done such a thing. At this time, the head of the Hong family must be very upset. After all, if this matter was not handled well, the reputation of the Hong family would be destroyed overnight. However, wouldn't this be advantageous to the Yen family? He had not forgotten how the father and daughter of the Yen family had treated his sister. Then let the Yen clan come and find trouble with them. Leng Ruoxue laughed evilly. With such a scandal happening to the daughter of the Hong family, the head of the Hong family would definitely be depressed to death and would not have the time to care about anything else. If the Yen family were to add fuel to the fire, wouldn't things be even more interesting? At the thought of this, she gave a few instructions to Shui Ying. After Shui Ying heard it, a wretched smile appeared on his face and he kept nodding his head. Following that, Leng Ruoxue gave the bracelet away. Shui Ying's destination was naturally the Yan residence in Yan City. Ziyu, who was at the Yan residence, was shocked to see a big snow-white fox suddenly appear in his room in the middle of the night. However, he quickly regained his senses. "Can you not suddenly appear like this? You'll scare me to death." Ziyu patted her chest exaggeratedly. "You're not that timid. You're a divine emperor." Shui rolled his eyes at Ziyu, his face full of disdain. "Can't you be afraid, divine emperor?" Ziyu said, a little speechless. Actually, he couldn't say that he was afraid. It was just that this fox had appeared too suddenly, so he wasn't mentally prepared. "Speak. What's the matter?" Ziyu calmed her heart and said, "Hee hee." Shui Ying laughed evilly and told him about what happened that night. Then he told him about Leng Ruoxue's new plan. After Ziyu heard Shui Ying's words, she was filled with regret. "Such a fun thing, why wasn't he there? You don't have to look like this. The Hong family won't let us who know the truth get away with it. So, you still have a good show to watch." Seeing Ziyu's depressed expression, Shui Ying comforted her. "Yes, that makes sense. Leave the Yan family to me," Ziyu said with a nod. It seemed that he had to urge the Yan clan to act quickly. Otherwise, who knew when he would have to wait for the Hong clan to come knocking on his door. He was bored to death after staying at the Yan residence for the past few days. Then he'll be leaving first. After saying that, Snow Shadow disappeared. The next morning, Leng Ruoxue and the rest had just left the tent when the young man walked over and invited them warmly. "I've ordered people to prepare some food, let's eat together." Chapter 1348, The Scheme of Master Hong 4. "Thank you." Leng Ruoxue didn't reject him and smiled. She was very interested in this man. After all, they were now grasshoppers on the same vine. Therefore, she also wanted to know more about the other grasshoppers' background. After she finished speaking, she, the demon, Yu Qing and Xiang, followed the young man to their camp. After they sat down, the man's subordinates very enthusiastically served them food. Looking at the food that had all the colors, smells, and flavors, and was even emitting heat, Leng Ruoxue muttered to herself, "It seems like this man is also a person who is very particular about his food. Otherwise, he would not have been able to cook so many different kinds of food in the wild." Actually, Leng Ruoxue's guess wasn't entirely accurate. Usually, in the wild, the young man and his group wouldn't eat so luxuriously. It was only because they wanted to entertain Leng Ruoxue and the others today that the food was much more sumptuous than usual. "Miss, you're welcome. Please enjoy," the young man said enthusiastically, but not solicitously. "Thank you. I won't be polite." Leng Ruoxue chuckled, but she did not touch her chopsticks. "May I know your name, miss?" the middle-aged man beside the young man asked curiously. "Leng Ruoxue," Leng Ruoxue said softly. "Oh, I wonder what's Miss Leng's relationship with them?" the middle-aged man asked curiously. Yesterday, the young master said that this woman had nothing to do with the Hong family. However, he didn't believe it. So, it was better to ask clearly to avoid hurting the innocent. "We don't have any relationship. If you really want to count, I should be their Hong family's prisoner." The moment Leng Ruoxue's words left her mouth, the young man and the rest were stunned. None of them had expected to hear such words. How could there be such a free prisoner? They could not believe it. "Do you see the father and daughter in the prison carriage?" Leng Ruoxue knew that her words were not very credible in the eyes of outsiders. However, she didn't take it to heart. She then pointed to the prison carriage not far away. "I saw it," the middle-aged man replied in a daze. "I was originally the prisoner of the father and daughter in the prison carriage. They wanted to kill me, but on the way home, I was caught by my enemies. Therefore, I was also implicated by them and became a prisoner of the Hong family. The master of the Hong family knew that I had nothing to do with the father and daughter of the Yan family in the prison carriage, so he released me from the prison. Therefore I can move freely." However, if I want to leave the Hong family, I'm afraid it won't be easy. Lung Ruoxue explained indifferently. Most of her words were the truth, with only a little bit of exaggeration regarding whether or not she could leave the Hong family. However, this would not affect the overall situation. After the young man and the rest heard Lung Ruoxue's explanation, they did not know what to say. This matter seemed to be more complicated than they had imagined. P.L.'s read on Abiziro's novel. Does Miss Lung wish to leave? The young man asked with a faint smile. Of course I want to. Lung Ruoxue chuckled. Then why don't you leave with us, Miss Lung? The middle-aged man suddenly said. I can't leave with you. Besides, I'm afraid you won't be able to leave so easily. Lung Ruoxue understood. If the Hong family wanted to silence them, then the team led by this young man would be the first to bear the brunt. Miss Ling doesn't need to worry about us. Since we dare to stay here, we naturally aren't afraid of their tricks. Moreover, he will definitely regret provoking me. The young man chuckled, his handsome face full of confidence. Some people won't learn without being taught a lesson, don't you think so? Lung Ruoxue said indifferently. Miss Lung is right. Some people just don't have a good eye. They don't know who they can provoke and who they can tee. And such people with no eye for things are a waste of food and spiritual energy to live in this world. The young man said in disdain. I don't seem to know young master's name. Lung Ruoxue nodded her head slightly and asked with a smile. My surname is Yin, and my first name is Xiao. The young man introduced himself. Could Big Brother E be from the Yin family of the 8 great divine domains? Lung Ruoxue probed. The Yin clan was also one of the 8 great divine regions. However, the Yin clan was relatively low profile and mysterious among the 8 great divine regions. However, for the Yin clan to be able to become one of the 8 great divine regions, they must have their own outstanding qualities. Yes. Yin Xiao nodded his head slightly. He was very pleased with Lung Ruoxue's address of Big Brother Yin. Furthermore, he had an extremely good impression of Lung Ruoxue. After all, it was rare for a woman to not drool at him during their first meeting. After this woman had guessed his identity, she did not seem particularly surprised. He immediately concluded that Lung Ruoxue must be a woman who had seen the world and could even be from a powerful clan. However, the Lung clan did not seem to be among the top clans in the divine world. Hence, he did not dare to make wild guesses about Lung Ruoxue's identity. It seems like the Hong family has kicked an iron plate this time. Lung Ruoxue said with a hint of sympathy. Our Yin family has always kept a low profile and doesn't like to get involved in any disputes. Originally, we could have ignored the Hong family scandal, but they just wanted to drag us in. I can't do anything about it. Yin Xiao said with a face of speechlessness, as if he was extremely unwilling. When Lung Ruoxue saw Yin Xiao's aggrieved expression, she was speechless. Was this considered taking advantage of her? From his point of view, Yin Xiao and the others were not easy to deal with. Otherwise, which normal group would choose to travel in the middle of the night? The two of them were chatting happily and laughter could be heard from time to time. However, when the laughter reached the ears of the Hong family, it was so harsh. Some of the Hong family members even thought that they were gathered to discuss what had happened last night. And what had happened last night was a great humiliation to the Hong family. After the beggar was brought back by the Hong family, the family head and the elders had secretly dealt with him. However, the family head and elders did not act rashly when Lung Ruoxue and the young man were in the team. This made everyone from the Hong family extremely puzzled. Today, he saw the two of them gathered together again, so the anger in his heart naturally surged up. In the next moment, an impulsive member of the Hong family walked in front of Lung Ruoxue and Yin Xiao with a heart full of anger. He questioned loudly, "Who allowed you two to be together? You still dare to talk about our Hong family? You really don't want to live." Chapter 1349, The Scheme of Master Hong, 5. When Lung Ruoxue, Yin Xiao, and the rest heard what this person from the Hong family said, they raised their brows in unison. After a long while, "Can't we have a chat together?" Yin Shaokai asked, speechless. Of course not. The Hong clan's people furiously roared. You're quite a busybody. You even care about our conversation. Yin Shao chuckled in a calm manner. Chat? Don't think that I don't know that you are clearly mocking our Hong family in private. The person from the Hong clan said angrily. Although he didn't hear what they were talking about, it couldn't be anything good. Otherwise, why would they be laughing so happily? He thought to himself, feeling a little nervous. What do you have for us to laugh at? Not everyone is interested in that kind of scandal. If you have the time to argue with us, why don't you think about how to implement your plan? Don't forget the main purpose of your trip. Leng Ruoxue reminded them with a smile. It seemed like the incident last night had driven the Hong family crazy. Otherwise, they wouldn't have forgotten their purpose and only wanted to cover up their family scandal. You all better be careful. If I hear a single word from your mouth that is disadvantageous to the Hong family, you will all be dead. The person from the Hong clan threatened. After he finished speaking, he turned around and left with his tail between his legs. Big brother Yin, it looks like we've been threatened. Leng Ruoxue shrugged her shoulders helplessly as she looked at the back of the Hong family member. I'm really scared. This Hong family is so powerful. Yin Shao said exaggeratedly. After saying this, the two of them looked at each other and smiled. Clearly, neither of them took the words of the person from the Hong clan to heart. After breakfast, Leng Ruoxue and the rest had a simple chat with Yin Shao before they bade their farewells and returned to the tent. In the afternoon, the master of the Hong family found Leng Ruoxue and wanted to talk to her in private. Leng Ruoxue glanced at the evildoer and nodded with a smile when she heard Master Hong's request. Following that, Leng Ruoxue followed Master Hong to an empty corner. Piels read on IB0's Nov L. Com looking at their backs. Yin Shao walked over worriedly and asked, why did Shui leave with that guy? What if that guy doesn't have good intentions? In the short time they had spent together in the morning, he had a good chat with Leng Ruoxue and the rest. The way he addressed Leng Ruoxue had changed from Miss Leng to Shui. He had also treated Leng Ruoxue as a younger sister. Hence, when he saw Leng Ruoxue being taken away by that old fart from the Hong family, he was extremely displeased. Shui will be fine. The demon said indifferently and didn't say anything else. At this moment, Leng Ruoxue followed the flustered master of the Hong family to the place they had been to last time. Seeing this, she was speechless. It seems like Master Hong has a special liking for this place. Miss Leng really likes to joke. The master of the Hong family looked at the familiar place and felt helpless. In reality, he did not bring Leng Ruoxue here on purpose. They had unknowingly walked here. I don't like to joke, Master Hong. If there's anything you want to say, just say it. Leng Ruoxue suppressed the impatience in her heart and said, Young Lady Leng, the elders in our clan are very angry about what happened last night. The master of the Hong family was silent for a while before he spoke. Yes, it's normal for them to be angry. After all, this is not something to be proud of. Leng Ruoxue said in an understanding manner. It's good that Miss Leng understands. The head of the Hong family seized the opportunity and said with a face full of joy. What do I not understand? This is your Hong family's matter, it has nothing to do with me. Leng Ruoxue played dumb. Miss Leng, you personally witnessed my daughter's scandal yesterday. Do you think the elders of our Hong family will let you off? For the sake of the Hong family's reputation, they will only get rid of you. The master of the Hong family saw that Leng Ruoxue did not understand the true meaning of his words, so he could only make his words more clear. Master Hong, I'm not the one who ruined the Hong family's reputation. Why do you need to get rid of me? If you are really thinking about the reputation of the Hong family, getting rid of Hong Lian is the top priority. Leng Ruoxue chuckled as she reminded him. Then, as if she had a sudden realization, she continued, I'm sorry, Master Hong. I forgot that Hong Lian is your daughter, so of course you can't bear to get rid of her. However, if you don't get rid of her, the main culprit, it's useless to get rid of me. Miss Leng, why don't you understand what I mean? The head of the Hong family was a little angry. Damn it, was this woman really that stupid or was she just pretending? Master Hong, I really don't understand, and I don't understand why your family elders want to get rid of me. I'm not the one who fell in love with a beggar, and even if it was me, they don't have the right to deal with me. I don't have any relationship with your Hong family. Lung Ruoxue asked with a face full of question marks, vowing to play dumb to the end. You have nothing to do with the Hong family, but you saw my daughter's scandal. The elders of the Hong family are afraid that the scandal will be leaked, so they want to get rid of you no matter what. The head of the Hong family explained. His words were clear enough now. If Lung Ruoxue still didn't understand, then she was really acting dumb. The elders of the Hong family want to get rid of me, and you're here to tip me off, Master Hong. Are you planning to betray the family? Lung Ruoxue said in realization. Her words caused the head of the Hong family, who was just about to express his gratitude, to choke and almost pass out. After calming down, the head of the Hong family gritted his teeth and said, Young Lady Lung, how could I betray my family? I came to find you to save you. I don't want you to die at such a young age. Oh, I wonder how you plan to save me? Lung Ruoxue asked curiously. As long as you become a member of the Hong family, the elders of the Hong family will naturally not think of killing you. The master of the Hong family deliberately paused for a moment before speaking. Become a member of the Hong family? I wonder how I can become a member of the Hong family? Lung Ruoxue's beautiful face was filled with confusion. Her beautiful eyes stared unblinkingly at the master of the Hong family. Master Hong's heart thumped like a little deer when he saw Lung Ruoxue's limpid and moving eyes. Who knew that Lung Ruoxue's next words would make his excited heart instantly turn cold? Master Hong, do you want to acknowledge me as your goddaughter? Lung Ruoxue blinked her beautiful eyes and asked with an innocent look. But I already have a godfather. If he finds out that I've found another godfather, he will definitely not let you off. He's very fierce. Lung Ruoxue mumbled to herself. Her beautiful face was filled with confusion. I don't want to acknowledge you as my goddaughter. The head of the Hong family, who was so angry that he couldn't say anything for a long time, finally roared after a long silence. Fuck, he was really about to be angered to death by this woman. Even a fool could tell what he thought of her, but this woman just didn't understand. Is she going to be your daughter-in-law? I already have a husband, and I've never thought of getting married again. Lung Ruoxue said with determination. I don't have a son. The head of the Hong family suppressed his anger and said, Fuck, this woman is really detestable. First, she said that she would be his goddaughter, then she said that she would be his daughter-in-law. Why didn't she think of marrying him? You're already so old, how can you not have a son? Could it be that he was already dying? If you don't have a son, won't your position as the head of the family be passed on to someone else's son? It's such a pity. Lung Ruoxue said with a look of sympathy. You, who? The head of the Hong family was so angry that he couldn't speak. Damn it, he actually said that he couldn't make it. When you marry me, I'll let you know if I can or can't do it. Master Hong, I know it's hard to say this, but don't be too sad. After all, age doesn't let you off. I understand. Lung Ruoxue saw that Master Hong was so angry that he couldn't speak, so she consoled him considerately. Chapter 1350. A Trap, 1. You, as long as you marry me and give birth to a son for me, I will pass the position of the head of the family to him. After a long time, the head of the Hong family finally spoke his thoughts while suppressing his anger. Master Hong, I didn't hear wrong, right? You want me to marry you? Lung Ruoxue asked in shock, as if she couldn't believe Master Hong's words. What's wrong? Don't tell me that I, as the head of the family, am not worthy of you? The master of the Hong family could hear the disbelief in Lung Ruoxue's voice and said unhappily, Really not worthy of her. Lung Ruoxue deliberately paused for a moment before continuing. How am I not good enough for you? The head of the Hong family forced himself to maintain a good demeanor as he asked. You're too old and can't do it in a certain aspect. You can't have a son. But that's secondary. The most important thing is that I already have a husband and I don't plan to marry another man in this life. Lung Ruoxue said with a calm smile. That man, other than having a pretty face, what can he give you? Besides, who told you that I can't have a son? The head of the Hong family roared in anger. Damn it, with his power and status, how could he not compare to a pretty boy? Why couldn't this hateful woman see the situation clearly? And she always said that he couldn't make it. It really made him angry. When you marry me, I'll let you know if I can or can't do it. The head of the Hong family angrily added. Master Hong, I'm sorry, but I won't marry you. So, it doesn't matter to me whether you can or can't. Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. Do you want to die? If you don't marry me, you'll only die. The elders of the Hong family won't let you off. And that pretty boy, he'll die without a doubt. Are you willing to let him die? The head of the Hong family started to threaten Lung Ruoxue. Since she didn't want to marry him because of that pretty boy, then she couldn't blame him for using that pretty boy to threaten her. Master Hong, life and death are up to fate. If you want to kill him, I'm afraid I can't save him even if I marry you. In that case, I'd rather die with him than marry you. So, you should give up. Lung Ruoxue chuckled. You have to think this through. As long as you marry me, I can guarantee that he will live well. Moreover, only I can save him. The head of the Hong family reminded. If the Hong family's elder is bent on killing him, how can you guarantee that? Lung Ruoxue asked with a smile. He can marry my daughter. As long as he becomes the son-in-law of the Hong family, the elders of the Hong family will naturally not make things difficult for him. The head of the Hong family said matter-of-factly. He had already made plans. In this case, wouldn't his and his daughter's wishes be fulfilled? However, Lung Ruoxue and that man would never have the chance to meet again in the future because he would never allow them to meet again. It seems that Master Hong has everything planned out. Can I say no? Lung Ruoxue asked with a half-smile. Piels read on Ibiziro's novel. Seal, of course not, because this is your only choice. The master of the Hong family said confidently. Master Hong, you're wrong. This isn't my only choice, and even if it is, I won't choose it. Lung Ruoxue said very clearly. Are you not afraid of death? Could it be that you're willing to let that pretty boy die? The head of the Hong family continued to ask. Master Hong, I've said it before. I'd rather die with him than agree to marry you. He will definitely not marry your daughter, because he's my man in life and my ghost in death. Lung Ruoxue sneered at Master Hong. The overbearing tone in her voice made Master Hong tremble. Miss Lung, you'd better think this through. The head of the Hong family advised. He couldn't easily give up on such a beautiful woman who he could only look at from afar but couldn't get. I've thought about it very clearly. Lung Ruoxue said with certainty. Young Miss Lung, since you're so stubborn, then don't blame me for not knowing how to be tender to a woman. The head of the Hong family was a little angry from embarrassment. He didn't expect that after he said this much, this woman still wouldn't agree no matter what. She even said that she wanted to die with that man. In his dreams, he would definitely not let them die together. Furthermore, he would not let Lung Ruoxue die. As for whether that man would be able to live, it would depend on whether he knew what was good for him. What does Master Hong want to do? Lung Ruoxue's face was filled with curiosity when she heard Master Hong's words. However, her expression remained extremely calm. In Master Hong's eyes, he thought that she was just putting on an act. Who asked Lung Ruoxue to be a weak woman in his eyes? Since you don't want to marry me, then you can be my exclusive property. The master of the Hong family laughed complacently. After he finished speaking, he made a hand gesture behind him. In the blink of an eye, Lung Ruoxue was surrounded by the Hong family's guards. Master Hong is trying to use force. Lung Ruoxue smiled and continued, no wonder Hong Lian knew that the overlord forced himself on the beggar. It turns out that he benefited from the true inheritance of the Hong family head. I originally wanted to give you a chance to live, but you didn't know how to cherish it. Since that's the case, you can't blame me. As for that man of yours, if he's tactful, I can consider letting him be Exenair's boy toy. The head of the Hong family shamelessly stated his other plan. AI. Master Hong has planned everything out and secretly brought so many people to force me to submit. It seems that I have no choice but to obey. But I'm not willing to accept this. Leng Ruoxue sighed softly and said gloomily, Miss Leng, a wise man is a man of practice. If you hadn't kept rejecting me, I wouldn't have used this last resort. I was forced to do this. Seeing that Leng Ruoxue had given in, the master of the Hong family's tone became gentle. In fact, he had never been so concerned about a woman before. If it were any other woman, they would have thrown themselves into his arms long ago. However, this hateful woman just had to turn a blind eye to him. In her eyes and heart, there was only that pretty boy. How could he not be angry? Hence, before he had asked Leng Ruoxue out alone, he had already made all sorts of plans. His current plan was undoubtedly the worst one, and also the one he did not want to use the most. However, it was the most effective one. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.